Hello, everybody. It's your boy Dre off the top here to warn you that this Final Fantasy VII Rebirth postgame show assumes that you have already played the game, which means this entire podcast will contain full spoilers for the game from beginning to end. We're not holding back whatsoever. So this is your one and only warning to turn off this episode right now if you don't want to be spoiled on Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Also, we're naturally going to be doing comparisons to the events of Final Fantasy VII Remake, as well as like the original Final Fantasy VII. So all things in the Final Fantasy VII sphere are going to be talked about with reckless abandon. So if you don't want spoilers on these games, we don't blame you. We'll catch you next time on Fine Time. But if you're going to continue on with us, we thank you, and we're going to get started right now.
Fine Time is about to blow your mind.
Hello, party people. I feel like I should say Cosmo people or Hello, Grasslands people. Hello, Junon people. It's your boy Dre, and I am here with the Cloudmaster himself. Then I don't know what a Cloudmaster is. Don't ask me.
I mean, I'll give you that. So I'm a master of the clouds, the plural clouds, but I have a confession to make. And that is, so I've experienced a bit of a rebirth. I am not only your curmudgeon in crime, but I'm also your Cetra in crime.
That's still CIC.
It is, yeah, it's right, yeah.
Cetra in crime.
Mm-hmm.
Have we ever seen a male Cetra? I don't think we've ever.
Not that I remember. I could be the first one.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, look, I'm sure they exist, but it could be like one of those things like, Wonder Woman or something, where it's just women and then they just, use a man to get pregnant and then just toss them into the sea or whatever they do in Wonder Woman. I don't know.
Whatever they do, indeed, yes.
Yeah, we're here. We're going to talk Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I am real excited. And, we kind of played this game in tandem. I beat the game, I think, a few days ahead of you or whatever.
Just a bit, yeah.
Yeah, and we're done, and we want to talk about it a lot. But first, I want to start with our thoughts on the original Final Fantasy VII, because I think it's important. Let's just start at the beginning so everyone can have our thoughts leading up to Rebirth. I think that's what we should do. It feels correct, okay?
Yeah,
I feel
sure
correct
does.
doing this.
Yes, it does.
So, back in the day, I anticipated Final Fantasy VII as much as anyone else did. I was looking forward to this game, and then it came out, and I liked it, but I was never in love with it. I think that's the best way to say it. Mm-hmm. I thought the gameplay of the original was really great. I loved the materia system. I love the summons, I love the amount of mini games and stuff like that. And there's like all sorts of secrets on the world map and shit. That was cool. And of course, the presentation is insane. And to this day, it's still insane presentationally. Mm-hmm. But I just never connected with those characters. I just didn't really like them all that much. Some of them I had no feelings on at all. Like I had no feelings about Tifa or Aerith at the time that she was at all. Yeah, they just existed. Aerith was just, nature lady who gets stabbed later to be a martyr for the rest of the game. I guess, I just didn't get it. Cloud was a dick. I didn't really understand his character very much. I didn't like him. Barret, embarrassing, right? So, character's not great. Plot is whatever. Sephiroth, villain. I guess he looks cool, and that's about it. So, the original game, gameplay-wise, pretty excellent. Story and character-wise, not so much. So, it worked out to being fine. That's how I felt back in the day. What did you feel about Final Fantasy VII originally?
The funny thing is that, so I had been quite the Squaresoft fanboy up to this point, right? So, I mean, coming off of Final Fantasy IV and 6, I was really excited to see where this game was going to go. So I actually played the demo disc with Tobal number 1, a lot. I played it a bunch of times just because I was so fascinated from a presentation perspective. And, there's just so many, pre-rendered backgrounds and all these different angles. And just presentationally, it was mind-blowing, and I still maintain it does a lot of cool things visually, but it's just, I agree though, it's like, as much as I like the journey and like the sci-fi tropes and all of that, it's just the personalities are really dry, right? And the story's pacing really soured me, especially like around the end of disc 2. It just drags, man. So like it drags to the point I just haven't felt like replaying the game like at all. Like I beat it once and then I tried to play it again a few years later, but I don't think I finished that run. And ever since, I'm just like, I think I'm good, man. So I mean, like, yeah, I think it does some cool stuff mechanically, but just like, it's hard to get past that plot.
Yeah, you know what? You're right. It does drag. I never really thought about it that way. It does, actually. Once you get, I would say you're right, like halfway through disc 2, at some point it just kind of hits a lull. And I don't think it ever really recovers from that, because like the only thing you can do after that, like this 3, is just go beat Sephiroth, right? So it's like, it's not really, yeah, you're kind of right.
Yeah, because they just had to cram the cinematics into disc 3. That was the reason why you need another disc.
Yeah, but like it... Yeah, you're correct. So we're in agreement on that. Let's also establish how we felt about remake. Okay, because coming out of that, how we felt about the original, I wanted to try remake because I realized they were doing something really different in a great way. Like the very first thing I noticed right off the bat was like the characters were actually characters this time. Oh my God, right? As soon as Barret spoke like 2 sentences and he wasn't embarrassing, he wasn't Mr. T or whatever, like I was relieved. I knew right then and there that this game was going to fix my crippling issues with the first game. And yeah, I really enjoyed Remake. It's not perfect. There are some dungeons that kind of suck. In fact, I would maybe say most of them kind of suck. I mean, if I'm going to be honest. Yeah. But that doesn't mean like they're like it's a terrible game. I actually do really like Remake. It has great characterization. Side quests, not so much. Most of the dungeons not great, but all the character stuff and like visually and the battle system, of course, I thought were a lot of fun. Battle system is not perfect, much more refined in Rebirth, but still really good start. And yeah, I enjoyed. What did you feel about Remake?
I'm in agreement that really my biggest takeaway is that the characters feel like actual people that you can get behind and support and all of that versus before. And I do also feel like the areas feel like a bit too constrained for their own good, but I guess you got to make it run on a PlayStation 4 somehow, right?
Yeah, it's PS4. It's the best they could do. Literally the best they could do.
Yeah, pretty much. Another big takeaway was their willingness to subvert expectations, which I thought was pretty surprising. Like the very end of the remake goes off the rails, so it kind of set the stage for some shenanigans in Rebirth, right? So like I was just wondering like what they were going to do next.
Well, it's the expansion of everything, right? The expansion of Wall Market. And like to me, that was always like the worst part of Midgar. It was just kind of boring. Okay, go get the dress. Okay, go in here. Okay, blah, blah, blah. Really long cutscene. Okay, Canero. All that shit was crazy good in Remake.
It's such a spectacle. It's so good.
Yeah, it's my favorite part. It's my favorite part of the game. It's my favorite part of the game, straight up. They turned the worst part of Midgar for me into my favorite part of the game.
Yeah, actual moments.
Yeah, wow, it was great. And then, yeah, all the character stuff with Cloud and Aerith, just adventuring around. I mean, all that stuff is great, I think. So, yeah, character moments and spectacle. You were getting it all in that. So it's like, okay, I'm really looking forward to Rebirth, especially with the way they left it, with kind of the ghost of Zack and, carrying that almost dead body of Cloud shuffling off towards Midgar, right? So it ended that way, and I was like, oh my fucking God, what is this shit?
It's crazy because we're not even like big Zack fanboys or anything, but we're like, wait a second, that's not how it played out. So I'm like, wait, what's going on, man? Like,
yeah,
they had a thing going for sure.
Okay, so typically on Fine Time, we like to get really deep into like gameplay stuff like battle systems and traversal mechanics and like world construction and, even graphics and stuff like that. But as far as Final Fantasy VII Rebirth goes, we didn't really want to do that. We're not going to do that this time because we'd rather focus on like we're just talking about story and characters and music and stuff like that instead. That's really, when it comes down to it, that's what matters to us here. So that's what we're going to talk about today. By virtue of you listening to this, you've played Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, probably. I hope so, because you're about to get real spoiled if you didn't. And so you know whether you like the game or not. We don't have to explain what the game is to you. You know already. So that's kind of why we wanted to focus on the other stuff today.
And the other stuff is so impactful too, which is why we're focusing on it.
Yep. So, but okay, before we get into that stuff, character, story, whatever, let's just kind of tie up with a bow how we felt about Rebirth as a whole. Since we're not really going to talk about that other stuff, let's just say what we think of the game. Let's start with you. What did you think of Rebirth as a whole?
You know, the funny thing is, I told you this during my run, but I basically said that $70 was practically selling themselves short. And I can safely say this game's going to give you a lot more value for your buck than most other games in recent memory. Like, it probably could have been $80 or $90 and it would have actually justified that, right? And that's
Absolutely.
that's crazy to think about, because like in the wake of everyone complaining about prices or stuff like that, there's just so much in this game. Like, I haven't done everything, and there's so much in here to do. And but really, so far as the game itself goes, they've expanded areas into full-fledged environments in a way that's really compelling, right? Like, I never in 1,000 years thought I would have remembered anything about like Gungaga or even like Junon, right? But they made these real places full of people, full of like moments that stick out in your mind, right? So like in comparison to the original,
if I'm not totally mistaken, I think Gungaga is optional in the original game.
I believe that's the case, yes.
So you don't even have to go there. So yeah, it's crazy.
I also think it's like really abbreviated. I don't really think it's much of a presence there at all. But in comparison with the original game, like this makes the original seem extremely sparse. Like, I've intermittently looked at footage of the original, and I'm just like, wow, holy smokes!
By
man.
original, do you mean like 1997 Final Fantasy VII or like remake?
97.
90. Okay.
Yeah, it's a really funny comparison to make.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's not a comparison at all. I mean, like, look at those cheesy pre-renders of the Golden Saucer before, of like jumping through these little hoops versus like what we got in this game. We'll get to that, of course, but
for what it was worth, those pre-renders still age well to a degree. It's just, you know, it's in comparison to what we got.
They don't look bad. I don't think the original game looks bad. I think that game will always look good because of the craft put in there, but come on, like what we have now.
Exactly.
But yeah, so it sounds like you really love this game. You really enjoyed Rebirth.
I did, absolutely, yeah. That sums it up nicely. I got a lot out of it, and it was full of very impactful moments.
That's for sure. Those are the moments we want to talk about today. But as for me, this wildly exceeded my expectations. My expectations were high. That TGS trailer from last September, that shit blew me away when they were showing all the Chocobo stuff, all the racing, the mini games, the everything. And I was like, oh my God, they're doing everything. This is now instantly my most anticipated game. It went way beyond what I thought. I'll have to sit with this game for a while to know if it's like one of my favorite JRPGs like ever. It probably is. But I can say this right now with confidence. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth might be the most generous game I've ever played.
Mm-hmm.
All this game does is give and give and give and give some more. And when you think it's done, it gives you even more.
Yes, it does.
I loved it all. I love the battle system. I love the world. I love the side quests. I love the mini games. I love the music and the characters, the towns. I loved every single thing about this game. And I don't think I've stopped thinking about it since I beat it. You know, we like a streamer, Maximilian Dude. Right. And he's a big Final Fantasy VII fanboy. And I watched some of his playthroughs, and I think he nailed it. Like, when you first get let loose and calm, he was like, within 5 minutes, he's like, this is Disneyland. Holy shit, this is Disneyland.
That's such a way of putting it.
He's right. It is Disneyland. It's almost like you went to a Final Fantasy VII theme park. And it's like, oh shit, over there is calm. Let's go see. Oh, and there's people dancing in the street. Oh, I can play cards, a whole entire card game with people. Oh, I can,
so good.
there's a jazz band just playing Final Fantasy VII tunes right over here.
Yes.
Like what the hell is this? He's right. It's Disneyland.
It's the ultimate playground, right? There's just, and everything's an attraction.
Yeah, you can what got me, what really got me is the fact that you could just jump in the stream and calm. Yeah. You just jump in the water. And think about how many games don't let you do stuff like that.
Yeah.
And this game's like, oh no, you can do that. Oh wow, I can even do that. Okay, I know it sounds simple, but again, games take so long to make, and there's so many systems on top of systems that sometimes you literally cannot just make stuff like that. It's much harder than it seems to do.
Yeah,
they just did it. They don't care.
And also another aside is that it all works, except for some minor collision bugs. I didn't really bug out during my run whatsoever.
I had one minor collision bug that didn't affect gameplay at all, and I had one weird enemy encounter in Temple of the Ancients that I think I sent you a video of.
Yeah,
where I fell off a platform and then I teleported back to it. Was really strange. Other than that, that's the only weird thing that happened to me. And think about that. This time last year, just about, I was complaining my ass off about Jedi Survivor, which still isn't as stable as this game, right? Come on.
It's crazy. It's insane how stable it is.
Okay. I think where I want to start is characters and character moments, because obviously that's the heart and soul of the game, and that's what we care about the most. So I would like to start there. And I guess we could start wherever you want, but I think here's a good place to start it out. I think the voice acting in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is exceptional. This is something I really want to commend, because think back to stuff not that long ago, like Final Fantasy 13 or something, which is so stiff and so unnatural and so terrible. Or even think about again, I know this is getting to be 20 years ago, but think about Dirge of Cerberus, or not that the voice acting was bad, but just the cutscene direction too was just so robotic and stiff. We've come a long way, right?
It's insane how far we've come.
Just the natural directions of scenes and talking and everything feels so good and so natural that it's almost underrated how good the voices are. So yeah. I wanted to take the time up front to say how good it is, the whole cast. Some people have feelings about Cid's voice. I don't, but that's about it, funny. Really.
I've also heard some rumblings about Cid, but let's be frank, I think the voice fits, and I don't really know what people necessarily expected, but the performance is a lot of fun. It's great. And everyone else, again, they sound like believable people. There's also something to be said for conveying a lot of impact with subtlety, which is what Remake and Rebirth do well. They're not overacted, and these characters just feel like people, man.
Yeah, that's all I've ever wanted. That's all I want from any RPG. I want people I want to be around. I don't even necessarily have to like them. I just have to think they're interesting. I don't have to like everybody that I'm on I don't like Yuffie, right? But she's interesting. She's an interesting person versus the original game where she's just an annoying brat, and that's the entirety of her personality. It's so one-dimensional, I can't stand it.
I'm just gonna steal your shit.
Yeah, I'm just gonna steal your shit, bitch. Bye. Right? Yeah. Bye, bitch. Karma's a bitch. And then but in this game, she's you understand she's actually portrayed the teenager she is.
They lead into it, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
absolutely. It was just, and another thing is that the fact that Yuffie's not optional this time really adds a lot as well, because they could actually lead into character moments, whereas before it's well, maybe she's there, maybe she's not, so it's kind of weird. Right?
Well, yeah, I mean, okay, well, first of all, there's no way they were gonna let Vincey? Did I just make Vincent and Yuffie one person? Vincey?
Yes. That's
did I just ship them?
That's something to think about. Yeah, thanks about
I just shipped them. Anyway, there's no way they would make Vincey optional this time, because it's come on, they're so to everybody, they're basically part of the game. Okay, in part 3, there's no way Knights of the Round is going to be optional. That's Final Fantasy VII. Come on.
Yeah.
I never thought that. I mean, I'm not saying you thought that would be the case, but I just, no way. But going back to voice acting in particular, I want to really commend Cloud's voice actor. He had a really hard job here and he nailed it. Like to have to convey suppressing like your true self. And he also has to act like his real self, quote unquote, real self in the Nibelheim flashback, which is like, almost acting like two different people in a way. And on top of that, he has to convey how like manipulated he is by Sephiroth, which obviously comes out during chapter 13. And I guess before that too. But
yeah, there's bits and pieces. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, like the deeper he goes into the Temple of the Ancients, the more like Sephiroth he becomes, the more possessed he becomes, the more, cut off he becomes from reality. And you have to convey that. It's really great stuff. We'll get to those scenes later, but like I just wanted to say that it was great.
It was super great just because you feel the awkwardness from Cloud's voice, right? And that's sort of a place where we've all been to like a degree. Like he's not just some cookie cutter person, so like his mental state is not all there, and for that sort of awkwardness to just be portrayed via his voice, that's like some really fascinating storytelling, man.
It's really good stuff. I've never been a Sephiroth fanboy by any means, mainly because he was never much of a character to me, so much as just like an entity, which is not really that interesting if you ask me, but whatever. People liked him because he looks cool, I guess, and he has a cool sword, but in an RPG, I need more than that to care about a villain.
He does have more. His hair.
Yeah, great hair. That L'Oreal ass hair.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Do you like that shot of that slow-mo shot during the Nibelheim flashback? Or if when they do like their team up attack, what is it called? I forget what it's called in the actual battle system.
Synergy attacks?
Yeah, where it just does those it does that slow-mo pan of Sephiroth and his hair is like whoosh. It's like,
yeah, it's great. Oh, it's so good.
What it was like, what is this Pantene Pro V commercial last fucking
we want to be like Sephiroth.
I mean, I do now. My God, he's beautiful. but yeah, the original never gave me any reason to care. But in Rebirth, they start you out with that famous Cloud and Sephiroth flashback in Nibelheim, and lo and behold, Sephiroth is an actual person with an actual personality for the first time ever. Yes, I know this scene existed in the original game, but it wasn't like this.
Oh, it was just so transient. It was barely like anything.
Yeah, and because of how well Rebirth handled this, getting to play as Sephiroth in the first chapter was so fucking cool. It almost felt forbidden. Felt like, oh my god, am I using a Game Shark right now? Am I allowed to do this?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, yeah. And the flashbacks really give you a glimpse of how he kind of melts down, right? Which is like the driving force of the whole story. But and the little touches really convey a lot. He rants like a maniac when he's after he's done reading. I'm just like, oh, that's really unsettling. Yeah. And he like tosses Cloud like a rag doll, like, so you really get a glimpse of just how powerful he is, man.
Oh, in the mansion, we just have force push, like the push. Yeah,
force pushes him. Yeah.
Yeah.
He got wrecked by, oh my god, he just got wrecked by Sephiroth.
Yeah, it's something.
One relatively minor thing that actually was rather poignant to me was an early scene in which Barret and Red 13 fall into the water in the mines. Red actually swims by nonchalantly and taunts Barret about floating there. And I never would have expected Red to actually like say anything like that, because normally he's so straight-laced. It was then and there when I realized that is expanding the original 97 game, and because I couldn't even tell you like an experience where like Barret and Red 13 had a meaningful conversation before, and they grouped these characters up to build some dynamics, and that's great, man.
I feel like everyone kind of gets that, right?
Yeah,
I feel like Tifa, when Yuffie's really motion sick or whatever, I feel like Tifa's really the one who really like. By the way they played that up in this game, LOL, like they really like.
It happens so often too.
It's like, okay,
it's like I'm on a plane, I'm on a boat. I guess like literally the only time it doesn't happen is when she's riding her own chocobo, but everything else she's like, I'm gonna feel sick. This minecart's too much.
But no, you're right. No, I did think about that in the Mithril Caves. Excellent fucking place, by the way. That's how I knew this game was going to be special when I got to the Mithril Mines, Mithril Caves, whatever it's called. And I was like, wait, this is actually good? Like this dungeon, this is
more than a 90s JRPG dungeon.
well, not just that, but compared to the dungeons in Remake, which were mostly not that fun. Like this was like, oh my god, this is actually good. Anyway, yeah, I love the interactions like that. One such interaction I really like, maybe might be one of my favorites in the game, if not my favorite, is the Red 13 and Aerith scene in Costa del Sol when they're at Johnny's shack.
Yeah.
And Aerith is in the shower and she comes out of the shower. Red 13's there just chilling, by the way. He just gets to look. Jesus Christ. And like
I ain't looking.
And like that's the scene where Aerith, looks at her holy materia and it's like, well, it was white now, but now it's clear. I don't know, but I don't remember why. It was that's one scene in this game I really can't piece together. I don't think I fully understood what was happening there.
Yeah, it's such a mystery, right? I think it's deliberately kept ambiguous to a degree just to kind of subvert your expectations, I guess. But like, to be entirely honest with you, yeah, it's just I couldn't particularly explain it.
Well, I mean, think back to the end of Remake where they rescue Red 13 in Hojo's lab and Aerith puts her hand on his head. You remember that, right?
Yeah.
And then he kind of calms down and is like, gains some sort of knowledge. Doesn't she do the same thing to Marlene? That's why she knows stuff in the Zack timeline?
I believe so, yeah. Yeah.
So it's like, I still can't really put that together. That's a weird one.
Yeah, I think it's deliberately kept kind of funky and strange.
I can't go on without talking about this. Speaking of Red 13.
Okay, all right.
Isn't it weird that everybody treats him like a dog?
Yeah, they do.
Because to me, he's a cat. He's always been much more cat to me, especially especially like a jag. He kind of has like jaguar nose and face to me, or like a lion, maybe
panther-like, perhaps. Yeah,
and his and his mannerisms are kind of like cat-like to me. I don't know.
I can see it, but I think like maybe it's like the snout structure that really makes me feel like dog. I don't know that I've always felt dog for some reason too. I've never really thought about this, which is kind of interesting since I do like cats and all that. But I think it might be a facial thing. Yeah, I don't know. I do agree the mannerisms kind of scream cat as well. So it's not really a point I've really discussed too much. So don't really know. But
hey, whenever you go anywhere, especially in Costa del Sol, hey, have your weird dog compete in like fake Rocket League or whatever.
Do some tricks. Yeah, they run the fake Rocket League. Yeah, that's right.
Did you play that? That was fucking weird.
I did do it.
So weird. Like, God, this game has everything. This game is fucking everything.
I wasn't expecting Rocket League.
Fine time.
Obviously, the real rock of this game is Cait and Tifa's relationship, of course. And I thought that was depicted so well. It was so good in this game. Just from the opening scene, obviously, in Calm, before you even really get to play the game after the Nibelheim flashback.
Mm-hmm. I thought it was pretty fascinating how like Tifa was already questioning his narrative, right? Because she has a sort of like hesitancy and awkwardness. She's like, thinking to herself, she's clearly thinking that he's full of it, right? That's like, wait, I don't remember you being there. But it's just the way it was acted, it was really compelling because it's just like, I don't really want to burst your bubble, but
Did you in the flashback? Did you go through her shit? Because you can go to her house, right? And it's like you went in my room or something, and he's like, I did or something. Well, I went in a room, yeah. And then
I didn't know you could do that. It's great.
Yeah, I did that, and then I went up to her wardrobe. He's like, "Did you look through my things?" And then I said no because I didn't want to piss her off, so I didn't actually do that.
Great.
But yeah,
that's amazing. Yeah, wow, that's some detail. Yeah, I didn't do it.
Did you play my piano? No, I didn't play your piano or whatever. Like well, because I'm sure if you do dig through all that stuff, you're just gonna piss her off for the rest of the game, or you're gonna have to build that shit. her like relationship level, right? So
your relationship with Tifa is one of like minus 100 points out the gate because you play with her shit.
It just has like a red like frowny face or like a mad emoji.
That'd be amazing. I remember what you did.
But yeah, she obviously didn't tell him the truth because she's worried about his mental state, but maybe she should have, because I don't really think this helped anything. I mean, look, Cloud is fucked up and that's all there is to it, but maybe this could have been over with if she had said something, but
there might not have been a game though. Maybe they have to have some reason to keep the story running.
Well, yeah, obviously for her character reasons, she's really unable to say too, but she really confides in Aerith too about this. And I think the Tifa and Aerith relationship, to me, is something that definitely didn't exist in the original, at least not this.
Nope.
I love the way they team up to tease Cloud, by the way, sometimes when they both they hella do it from Cloud's, like the camera is Cloud's perspective, and they hella just get up in the camera. They hella just get up in the camera, like facing it, like, come on, or whatever. It's really,
let's get some chocobos, come on.
It's really funny.
Oh, so funny. I love the chocobo thing. It's like, okay, fine.
Yeah, they hella get up in his face. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's established pretty early on that Tifa is confiding in Aerith the stuff she knows about Cloud. The Cloud is lying about, rather. It's really great. And of course, this comes back around in Gungaga when they visit the Fair residence. Tifa was like, well, that clears it up. He definitely doesn't know who Zack is.
It's like, I was thinking to myself, are you like, what? This is crazy. Like, what do you mean he doesn't know?
Yeah, but they just can't believe it.
Yeah.
And again, I guess Aerith really, I don't know. I guess she felt like it was Tifa's call to make to not really like tell Cloud. And I get that. It's not really her. Sure. I don't think it's really her call. At the same time, like, man, just wild. Oh, by the way, Cloud is just like the ultimate bag fumbler, man. Like Tifa's trying to like, I mean, it's not just the argument they have at the beginning, but just later on. Remember that part where like Tifa's telling us some story or something like that, and he's like not listening, clearly not listening, and she's like, "You don't care, do you?" And he's like, not really, but I'll listen if you want," or something like that.
Who talks like that? Nobody talks like that.
Cloud, you fucking virgin. Come on.
Like, he's got more of a game than that, surely, right? He just didn't
Dude,
feel like trying.
He was fumbling the bag. You got Tifa right there, man. Just pretend to care for a second.
Not really. It's like, come on, man. Like, come on.
Man. Jesus.
You want to talk about someone who's socially awkward? It's
more than socially awkward. I think he just can't even if he wanted to, he couldn't make himself care. It's so weird.
Well, his mental state's not all there, so maybe we can excuse some of it. Maybe.
Of course. I mean, we understand the way the reason why he is the way he is, and that's why this game is so great. You don't understand that in the original. You don't.
No.
You do understand in this because he's an actual person. In the original, he's just a dick. He's just a dick. In this game, he's still a dick, but you completely understand why. And that's what I was saying earlier. You don't have to like everybody that you're traveling with, but you should find them interesting.
That's the most important part. Yeah.
It's not about it's not about liking them. Yeah.
It's really not. And there's something that's actually interesting in the middle of the run, that I affectionately call like the space whale and the Tifa segment.
Oh, the space whale and the Tifa. Yeah. Well, I think, okay, I don't know this for sure. We haven't talked about this. Is this your favorite part of the game?
I think so, just of how bizarre it is. It's so different from anything else in Final Fantasy VII, like in any form. And like, it kept this really interesting sense of intrigue, right? So like beforehand, Cloud has like this robotic performance that's like really, really terrifying, and so it kind of left us to our own devices, like wondering what was going to happen next. So I presume that this was like the live stream, right? It's just because everything's green.
What else could it be?
It's gotta be like everything's green and like dreamlike, and Tifa's experiencing visions of the past, and like you can seriously just like select things as if it's like a choose your own adventure kind of. It's like an adventure game all of a sudden. I'm like, what the heck is going on?
It's something. I was not expecting anything like this. It was crazy. And of course it feels like the live stream because it definitely didn't feel like an ocean. It didn't feel like you were in this wide open. It felt like you were in this tunnel of life, I guess, for lack of a better term, you know? So yeah, that whole sequence was insane. Sephiroth came down there and like cut her out of like the weapon or belly thing.
Yeah.
Also,
I was like, what? That was crazy, man.
Much like how he saved Cloud after like he's drowned after the snake boss, you know, he needs them alive. Yeah. Aerith is the one who needs to die, but he needs them alive for some reason.
He needs puppets. Like, I don't know. It's weird, right? It's so strange.
Yeah.
You didn't actually. Oh, sorry.
No, say
you didn't actually think Tifa was like going to like die, quote unquote, did you?
No, I didn't think that. I didn't think they would do anything that radical.
Yeah, of course not.
I really didn't think.
The
most radical thing I thought is that they would let Aerith live, and oh boy, we'll get to that later. But speaking of which, that's who I got on my golden saucer dates. Is that who you also got?
I also got Aerith as well. Yeah.
Well, that's good. So you remember the part where they were riding the Ferris wheel. This is, of course, after the Nibelheim, where they go back to Mount Nibbles, right? And they have all that stuff. And then Cloud remembers Zack drowning. It wasn't a random soldier; it was Zack. But then Cloud says to Aerith, "Did Tifa talk to you about Zack?" And then Aerith does flash back to a scene that we were not privy to previously, where Tifa does bring it up to her. But then Aerith lies and says, "No, Tifa didn't. No, nothing that I can think of."
What? I was just like clenching my teeth. I'm like, what do you mean? She didn't say anything.
I don't think it's her. She felt like it wasn't her call to say it, so I think she didn't really want to say anything. Jeez, she's protecting him too, tense. Of course. But I mean,
yeah, but to what extent?
Do you remember where you actually meet Cait Sith in the original game? Because I don't think it was at the Golden Saucer. I think it was definitely before that.
I don't think it was too much more before. If it was before, I'm a little hazy on the details, but like, yeah, it wasn't in this way though. Like, it was shuffled a little bit.
It wasn't when you go to the Goosebumps ass like hotel, Luigi's Mansion ass hotel.
Luigi's Mansion. It's so perfect, even as the lighting.
Oh god, the lighting is incredible.
It's so good.
It's so good. I love excellent game. 10 out of 10. Okay, here I was, me, an idiot, an absolute fool, thinking that they might skip out on Barret in the sailor outfit. Not only was he in the sailor outfit, but he was wearing it for a significant portion of the game. He talked about how much he's like, oh, I look good in this or whatever. It's like, okay, dog, like go ahead.
It's funny though, because he was originally wearing it to like for disguise purposes, right? But then like, he still wore it like during Costa del Sol. I'm like, what are you doing, man?
It's beachwear, I guess. Why not? I mean,
yeah,
like,
sure.
I guess he could throw on some swimming trunks. I guess I don't know. I guess he could just be like a basic bitch. Like Cloud looked really weird in just the swimming trunks. He's so fucking skinny. He looks like a
skinny but strong. He's Mako powered.
Okay, sure. That's why I put him on the like Hawaiian shirt or something. It's like, dude, you're too skinny to be like, yeah.
I think I did that too, actually, but yeah, I don't think I just did the trunk things.
The barista outfit, as people call it, yeah, beach barista or whatever.
Beach barista.
It is.
Oh, it's so good.
All right, Vincent. It's time to talk about Vincent, if you will.
It's time for Vincent to talk about Vincent. Vincent on Vincent?
Yeah, Vincent on Vincent. Vincent X Vincent, yeah.
The Nibelheim mansion is one of my favorite parts of the whole game because it has this scene that really threw me for a loop. Of course,
he's laughing already.
Yeah, I can't help but laugh about it. It resolves in a really funny way. Of course, it's the place where you meet Vincent. So the whole time, like, is he going to join the party? Is he not going to join the party? Is he going to join? So he doesn't. Right, so he crosses, he's like tells everyone to like leave, and so he gets back to his coffin, he crosses both of his arms, and then he closes the coffin.
Yeah, it's like, how did you close the coffin when you cross your arms already? This doesn't even make any sense, dog.
He's like, I'm just kidding, I gotta reach my arm, I just gotta look cool for the camera, time to reach my claw.
It's like, oh, wait, hold on. I need to close this. You never saw this.
It's like, what are you doing?
It's so edgy. It's so over the top. It's so ridiculous. And they knew it. They had to do it that way. They couldn't make him anything else but what he is, a late 90s edgelord. You had to.
That's so appropriate. Yeah, it fits. It's just like the stereotypical goth crossing, though. It's like, come on, man.
Oh, come on, dude. The dude's sleeping in a fucking coffin in the middle of an abandoned mansion. You better cross your goddamn arms when you go back into your coffin. You better do the whole bit with your clickety clack gauntlets or whatever.
Yeah, the gold gauntlet, the claw gauntlet. Yeah. But he bamboozled us, right? So Vincent trolled us. And the whole party's about to fly off, and so Sid is like, "Hey, you got a +1 or something like that." I'm like, "What do you mean there's a +1?" And Vince is just like right there. I'm like, "Whoa!"
Yeah,
dude.
he's like, "Hi, bitch, I'm here. I guess I'm coming with you."
Like, what do you do? Like, why did you show up all of a sudden, man? Like, what are you doing?
He does insert himself into every scene. Remember near the end where they're trying to get through the wall of whispers or whatever. He's the one gesturing at the end. It's like, she needs you.
Yeah, she does.
He does do that. It's like, you're here too? Okay, I guess.
Yeah, but what does he do? What is he actually genuinely doing this whole time, right? It's like, sure, he can kind of help them out of the temple, but like, you're just standing there, dude. Like, what are you doing?
So let's talk about this. And I'm sure you've noticed this too. Corel, Barret's hometown, Corel. It had a lot more black people per capita than like any other town. Did you notice this?
It sure did. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I thought this was completely by design, but I'm not exactly sure what they were trying to say exactly. Just because there are a fair amount of black people in other towns. I mean, this isn't Final Fantasy 16 after all. There is black people around, right? Right? So maybe it was just simply that since Barret is from there, it would make sense that if there was more like relatives or family or a place where there was like a larger black community, I guess.
I think it's got to be by design, right? Like, but for what purpose? Like, of course it's there to establish his sort of place of origin, but like, I almost wonder, like, if there were like hinting at something else, like perhaps like Shinra like exploiting a community or something like that. I kind of wonder if there's a deeper subtext.
Yeah, that is true. Although Shinra exploits the fuck out of everybody, obviously.
Right, of course. But this place got literally blown up though. But
yeah. Well, it's a juxtaposition too of that town's like relative poorness versus like the splendor right up the road of a gondola away is the goddamn golden saucer, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, the haves versus have-nots, it just juxtaposed like that, just like in real life. So,
well, look how fucked up that station was, and like the actual golden saucer. Here, go up to the golden saucer. Here, that sign was all dirty and broken and shit. It was just like,
and there's like minecarts that barely work.
Yeah, it was just the juxtaposition. Anyway, I like this depiction of this town because it means that Barret's blackness doesn't exist in a vacuum. You know, like it might exist in other JRPGs that feature a person of color. It's not like race is ever actually discussed in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, but when you have a town like this, you don't really have to. You know, the details told the story.
Exactly.
Yes. I thought that was really excellent.
Yeah, storytelling via subtlety. Yeah, well, it's a thing that we'll mention time and time again. And speaking of subtlety, I have a point real quick. The NPCs had so much cool stuff to say in the background, just like as you walk around in town. And
that was an element I really liked in Remake as well, but it's way better even in Rebirth.
Yeah, in Junon, it's really crazy because there's some anti-Shinra protesters and they're like raising signs and stuff like that, which really resonated with me because, of course, in real life, there's all sorts of protests and stuff like that. Like, it's such a timely thing. It really parallels like current events in a really fascinating way, whether they intended to or not. right? So
yeah, I'm not sure that was intentional. I mean, you could only make the game you're making. You can't. I mean, games take so long to make. I don't think they can really capitalize on some sort of moment like that,
so
right?
hard.
But I
Oh,
mean,
it's so
like,
hard.
unless you want to really have some like late breaking, oh, we're about to go gold in 2 weeks. Let me try to add them. And obviously, you
trying to
can't
add
do
the
that.
protesters. It's so hard. Yeah, I'm sure you had some favorite like chatter like that too.
Well, there is one thing that's actually stuck out to me in Calm, because one of the guys actually does say, like, I thought Calm was this backwater town, but this place is actually pretty livable, which felt like a very meta comment on like the original Final Fantasy VII, where Calm was just like a couple of shacks and like 2 screens or whatever.
Yeah, so small.
Yeah, and I've always thought of it as a podunk town, but now it's just like this entire like Maximilian said, it's Disneyland.
Yeah.
So it's like it's
so
great.
good.
I feel like that person said they did that on purpose. I think so.
I would imagine so. Yeah, there's just so much. Yeah, it's so lived in, and people are like everywhere. There's just so many people in Calm now.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's so good. Yeah. And just really quick, in Nibelheim, there's so many hooded people just chilling there, and it's almost like the people feel like they can't really help them. So again, that kind of touches like it almost paralleled like real life in a where it's like you see people that can't really do anything for other people, and it's just like this sort of really awkward situation with homelessness and stuff like that, right? So I mean, like I was just almost felt like that when playing that segment. I was just like, yeah. It's just,
I would be remiss if I didn't mention that the Queen's Blood stuff was insane. I didn't expect every person to be a character and every person to like, and like to have like an entire storyline there to like culminate in something that was just wild to me. Crazy stuff.
The characters are so off the rails. So like, there's like a dog that's trained to play the game, and I think there's a chocobo, right?
There's a chocobo. There's a guy I think who is mute. There's a guy in a town in Junon too who's playing the guitar and he keeps singing the entire time. There's that guy.
Oh,
there's
that guy.
There's that guy in Calm who just keeps crying. He's just like crying the whole time.
I don't think I played against that guy. That's great.
Yeah, it was crazy, and then it actually culminates and stuff as you get further and further along in that storyline. You fight Vincent at the mansion. You have to go to the Shinra Manor to play him.
Whoa! Okay,
yeah, dude,
that's great.
Yeah, dude, it gets crazy. It's
It's amazing. Wow, but just the diversity is so cool, though. There's a dude in Nibelheim just like shirking work and just hiding in the corner, waiting for someone to challenge him. That was like really funny.
Yeah.
There's just so much variety. So another thing that stood out was Red 13's performance in Cosmo Cannon just blew me away, right? So like the entire game up to that point, which is basically like 2/3 of the run, he's like so straight laced and like he's so deep voiced and everything. So all of a sudden he calls up to his friend in like this very playful, upbeat tone, and I'm like, am I hearing something?
I was like, what the hell?
I thought I was imagining things, but it's the sort of performance you can't get from text alone, like voice intonation and like the changing thereof. Like he the whole thing was a facade. His gruff voice was a facade the whole damn time.
Yeah, I could not believe it. Was like, really? The only way you could do that in like text is to give him 2 completely different dialects. Like maybe he's spoken Old English before, and then you give him like, a country bumpkin, what's up, y'all? Like kind of, you know what I mean? That kind of text afterwards.
Yeah,
that's the only way you could probably like pull that off.
Italicized versus text color differences. Like that's just too artificial.
Oh my
right?
God.
He just organically does it. And I also noticed in battle from that point onwards, he speaks in his regular voice. They actually paid attention to that. He doesn't switch back to his girl voice. Yeah, I was just like, what?
I really, as I've been learning Japanese these last few years, I've really appreciated the way Final Fantasy VII uses Japanese, because I don't think any other Final Fantasy game does this. They use the way they use kanji and the way they use stuff is just part of the world in that game. Mm-hmm. And there was a side quest. Did you do the side quest of Red 13 where they were, someone was writing a children's story? I think it's in Gungaga.
They're
writing a children's book, and it ends up being about Red 13. And they don't really say this, but I remember looking in at the poster, and it said Akai Senshi no Monogatari, the Tale of the Red Warrior.
What?
Yeah.
What? Like the cover says it, or?
Yeah, the cover says it.
What? Okay.
Yeah. So but I was like, I'm glad I can actually read this stuff. It sort of enriches the world. I mean, you don't have to know that, right? But it's just, if you do, it's just a little bit of enrichment. That's really cool.
That's dope. That's really good. Yeah, that's great. Wow.
Yeah, it actually said that. Hojo, real quick, just a classic cackling evil scientist. I mean, he always has been, but the way he's been depicted in the remake series, he's practically Snidely Whiplash with how fucking evil he is.
He is. He just seems like a sociopath. He's always talking about grandeur and making things more grand, and like he's like locking Red up, and he's like cackling like an asshole. It's like crazy, man.
Yeah, it's weird. There's one aspect of Final Fantasy VII that I have never cared about, whether it's OG, Advent Children, remake, anything.
That's lofty. Oh man.
It's true. And the thing is, I have never cared about the Turks.
Wow.
I don't care. I don't get it. They're not interesting. They don't look cool. They're assholes. They're asshole Shinra lapdogs who were after Aerith because someone told them to, and who also dropped a fucking plate on all the poor people in Midgar, literally because just someone made the call for them to do so. So fuck them.
That was pretty asshole-ish, yeah.
Yeah, fuck Reno and his stupid red hair. Rude and his bald head.
Holy shit.
Elena can get bent. I don't care. Sung, fuck him too. I don't care
he's
about
too straight-laced. You know the funny, so when you told me this recently, I was actually pretty shocked because I was like, I thought it was like they have some fun interactions to some degree. They're not really like the coolest like villain team on the face of the planet, but I actually like some of the interactions in Rebirth. There's a part where like you can just imagine Rude being like irritated at Elena's like chirpy, like sort of inexperienced and amateur like shenanigans. Like
she's the only one questioning what they're doing. She's the only one who's like, what the hell is going on? Yeah, like, I mean,
we're going in to die? What? And then they're just like, we're going to follow the mission. So yeah, sure, I understand like they're kind of boring in that respect. But like I just thought some of the performances in Rebirth were kind of interesting to me. But like, yeah, I mean, as a whole, sure, I understand. But I've never disliked them to that degree, man. Oh my god.
Yeah, I've just never liked it, man. Never have. Anyway, I think that wraps up all the character stuff. Unless you got anything else, it's kind of.
I think we covered Vincent on Vincent. I think, and that's the most important part to me. Just yeah, I think it.
Hot.
You're coasting with Valentine.
Okay, I think we should talk music because, again, I don't really know how this is going to settle in an all-time list for me yet. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I can say this is one of the best soundtracks I've ever heard. Straight up.
Yeah, it just has to beat out 16. Wait, who said that? But no, this is great.
I think this is better than 16.
Oh my god. Okay. That's food for thought, but
yeah. I would say 16 is better than Remake. 16 is not better than Rebirth for sure.
Okay, yeah, sure. I'll have to think about that one. I think about that one.
Doesn't really. No, I really like the soundtrack in 16. Don't get me wrong, I do.
Of course.
No, but I think a good starting place is that much like Remake, this soundtrack could have easily been nostalgia porn. They could have just played the hits, and everyone would have loved it, including myself. Because the way they do play the hits in this game are really great. But they didn't just do that. They did much better than that. And I really appreciated it.
It didn't just sound like MIDI compressed on the disc. Wait, what? Who said that? But in the grand scheme of things, it takes just the risk that you need to properly remake something. Right? Because like they could have just like literally like re-recorded or redone stuff like as is. But no, it does way more than that. They were not afraid to play with established leitmotifs, right? So one of the goofiest things was actually the way Yuffie like plays with established tunes, like her theme, right? So she adds lyrics to things. Like you get on a Chocobo and Gungaga, and then she's like chirps about riding a chocobo, and I'm like, what? It's so surprising to me. I'm like, what? And there's another thing, also around Gungaga, where she's singing her theme, but she's singing about being bored. I'm like, what? I had to,
I'm so bored. I'm laying on the couch or something like that. Yeah. I can't even remember. But
so
no, but you know what's funny? It's that we do the same shit. When we played a game enough, we add lyrics to all sorts of stupid things,
we do.
Right? Like we love
really
to do that. It's funny, right? So the fact that we're not the only ones, obviously. The way.
Yeah, and of course, like even like instrumentally, like her theme is played in different parts of like the Mount Corel area, right? So like, and you can't do that if she's like an optional character. So the fact they integrated her into like the main thing, like they could do these moments, and like so when you reach the peak and you find the little birdie on top, like the song is like super playful and stuff like that. So like there's so many different iterations of like established songs.
Oh yeah, Cloud Jr. Almost forgot about Cloud Jr.
Cloud Jr. Yes, it's so funny. It's so silly,
stupid.
It's great. It's great.
Mount Corel in general. When you're climbing Mount Corel, that song. Oh my god, that shit is incredible.
It's so impactful.
It's so loud too. That's not background music. That's not background music. That's music.
It's sweeping, right? It's super sweeping.
Oh, it's so good.
It's super great. I don't even remember it sounding remotely like that before. I mean, I'll tell you what.
It was, I love a lot of the soundtrack, and I get it. They're remaking a game from 1997, but they're leaning into the 90s-ness. These kind of motifs are definitely not like, okay, I'll put it this way. So, like in the 90s, a lot of those composers, being Gen X, they're pulling from like 70s, especially prog rock stuff. I mean, Hiroki Kikuta did that all the time.
You could tell.
Right?
Yeah, you could tell.
Nobuo Uematsu, I guess maybe he's more of a boomer, but he also did that all the time. Even Mitsuda, you know what I mean? Like a lot of these guys kind of pulled from those kind of sources. You listen to like Nintendo music from the early 90s, and I've made fun of this to you, made fun in a good way. Go back and listen to Super Mario Kart. Those are like disco tracks, man. Those are like, like you can like I can pull up disco songs. That's like, oh yeah, it sounds like this one. So they're pulling a lot from the sources. Now in the year of our Lord 2024, the people who are making this stuff are now like more our age and are pulling from the 90s for sure. They probably grew up playing Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, that's a great observation. Yeah, wow.
That's the inspiration for them, not just because it's a game from the 90s. They're pulling from those sources. Like all that Kyrie stuff is like literally like 90s pop rock, right? It's like very produced 90s pop rock. Now and then, of course, she has her fake ass Tony Basil, oh, Mickey, you're so fine, you blow my mind, pop song. And when you do another quest for her, which is like incredible, the lyrics on that are so funny. It's so in character for her. Anyway, sorry for talking so long. Point being, I love the inspiration that they're pulling from not just real life, but just, a game from the 90s is sounding like the 90s. I do like that.
Yeah, and honestly, it comes from a really heartfelt place. So, just to lead into that, that song, really, the Kyrie song, really quick. I think it was so insanely over the top, but like I feel like in the way they like set it up, it felt a lot more like endearing than some of maybe Square's like previous efforts to like, I don't know, appeal to a worldwide audience or whatever, right? So like they've included some like, I don't know, some other songs are kind of silly, like Final Fantasy X's like Otherworld, which also was like felt way too ham-fisted to me, but like that song is just so like, even though it's like kind of chirpy and annoying in a way, it was great. It was so much fun.
It's supposed to be annoying. Yeah, it's supposed to be. Like that's the point. It's like that's it's great. It's such good stuff.
Yeah.
Speaking of songs for side quests, which they went so hard on with the Kyrie stuff, I think maybe just as hard. There's a couple quests involving a dog escort mission.
Oh my god!
And but we affectionately, everyone just calls him Bow Wow Wow because that's what it's
on the internet. Yeah, they say it over and over again.
It's so good. It's why did they go so hard on side quest? A side quest for a fucking dog. They went crazy.
And the funny thing is, this side quest is actually pretty early in the game too. So what a way to make an impression, right? It's like everything sounds so expensive early on.
They spared no expense. Oh, yeah. By the way, do you like how during that quest, like Barret is losing his mind about Marlene? He's just like, oh yeah, no, what if I can't let her go, or what if I don't let her? What if I clip her wings or something? To the point where Cloud's like, Barret, calm the fuck down, or whatever he says, calm your shit, or whatever. Yeah, literally.
If Cloud is telling you that, you're probably really messed up somewhere.
Exactly. If Cloud is saying that shit, yes, you fucked up somewhere.
Yeah, well, Barret was about to cry into the mic, so
it was he definitely, yeah. Man, the music in this game is so good. What about really one of the things that struck me probably the most is after Aerith dies, if you will. Again, more on that later. You start the fight against Jenova, but it's like a sad version of the Aerith theme, right? But then as you fight that boss in pieces, it eventually gets taken over by the Jenova theme.
It's taken over exactly it. Yeah.
It's wild. The storytelling through music in this game is crazy.
It's so seamless and organic, and that's the surprising part. It's just so good, man. One of the things that was really apt to me was the Gungaga area's themes, right? So there's like this new age ass song. I mean, it's perfect, right? Because it's like a jungle, right? So it's like it's got this Ferngully ass song that's kind of might as well be from like the Lion King, and has like Enigma ass instruments and all the stuff. And it's just like it's right out of a '90s like environmentalism movie, right? And
we were just talking about the '90s, and that's about as '90s as it gets. Holy shit, man!
Dude,
if we went to the San Diego Zoo and they played that at some exhibit, would we bat an eyelash? I mean, like that's exactly.
No way. No, just put that shit in SeaWorld or something like that, right? Dude, it's so good. It's
so good. I could not wait for you to get there. I remember asking you, "Have you been to Gungaga yet?" And you're like, "No." And I'm like, "Oh my god!" You're like, "What?" And I'm like, "I don't even want to say. I didn't even want to say the music. I didn't even want to say the word music. I was like, just tell me when you get there." That's all.
It probably would have spoiled the surprise to a degree, but yeah, man, it was just so perfect. And also, obviously, the game is about like environmentalism to a degree. So it's like we love this over the top shit, man. It's just so like it's video game life, baby. It's great.
Okay, so I want to talk about one more moment that really did it for me. So then, we are both two American men born in Southern California in the 1980s. So that means we know a little thing at Disneyland called the Main Street Electrical Parade.
We do.
I think you know where I'm going with this. And it's exactly what it sounds like. For anyone who doesn't know, it's a parade down the main drag of Disneyland with all like the garish lights and floats and stuff. And it plays this very distinct song, this very carnival-like song as you go down. Yeah. And when I first played Final Fantasy VII back in the day and I got to the Golden Saucer and I heard that the Golden Saucer theme, I was like, that's it. That's the Main Street Electrical Parade. That's what it is. The Main Street Electrical Parade. Of course. That's what my like teenage brain conflated it. I mean, like what else would it be? Of course.
It would have been the right time frame for it too.
Right. And so Final Fantasy VII Rebirth obviously has that theme, right? But when you're on the date with whoever you're dating, it plays a version of the Golden Saucer theme that uses like very mid-70s synthesizer sounds.
Yep.
And it sounds exactly more than ever before like the Main Street Electrical Parade at Disneyland. There's no way that's a coincidence. They knew what that shit sounded like.
Yeah, they mixed it in a way that's so like organic too. So like we both dated Aerith, so there's like notes of our theme just like strewn throughout like the song, and I'm just like, yo, man, they actually like have so much attention to detail, and like how many other games can speak to that, right? They have a whole roster to like include, and they paid attention to the details in such an incredible way.
That's one thing about the Tifa date. I do know they do incorporate Tifa's theme into that theme if you date her. Into the Golden Saucer. They incorporate the theme of the person that you're dating into that. That is crazy.
Insane.
Man.
That's so much work. But they did the work.
Yeah, they did. Speaking of which, real quick, of the Golden Saucer, rather, did you like when you did the arena battle after the Loveless play, when you had to go do the arena battle, they like the Corneo cronies kicked it off with that fake ass Beastie Boys rap song or whatever.
I loved it. God, it was so egregiously stupid.
It was so ridiculous.
The lyrics were so over the top because they literally say things like "golden saucer, throw that shit in the trash," and I'm like, you have to be off your rocker to write something like that and have someone actually sing it. That's so crazy.
That's so crazy. I think they call someone's a bit like, check it out, bitch, we're here. So I don't know. It's like I remember the word "bitch" being really funny as well, and
so unhinged, man.
It was unhinged. And I love the sound design in that area too, because it's so loud it sounds like an arena. And I'm using my fancy schmancy, PlayStation headset 3D headphones or whatever. So it was really loud. It sounded like you were in an actual arena, like the announcer and stuff, talking shit while you're like, it was so overbearing, like in a good way. It should sound like that in there. It was crazy good audio.
Yeah, I remember it was pretty echoey, like an actual concert too. Yeah, it was great.
For sure.
Was it just stuff like being played straight up? It was like it was world building via music.
Yeah, but I like how they made those two flunkies rap. It was like seeing like, I don't know, 2P and Axel from Final Fight rapping or something like that.
Yeah,
it was really weird. Yeah.
Yo, dude. Yeah. Oh, so good. I have something really quick about cheesiness. In the Corel prison area, this dude Gus appears to crack a deal, and it's like it becomes super swank. But then shortly thereafter, there's a random a random bad band just chilling in this Mad Max ass area, and they're playing this sort of punk rock act. And I'm like, you're just sitting here doing this? That's crazy to me.
I love it. It's so good, and you just buy it because you're enjoying the game so much. You just buy it. You don't even think oh man, what are these fuckos doing here? You're just kind of like, okay, sure. You're
like, Mad Max, sure, that's fine. Yeah.
One more thing before we wrap up the music part. The ending theme for Final Fantasy VII Remake, Hollow, the part you I think it plays when Cloud, quote unquote real Cloud, passes Zack dragging Cloud along in the other dimension, and that song strikes up. They play that song in the desert part of the grasslands because that's where Remake ends. They play that song in that area of the grasslands. I was like, oh.
Dude, that's such a good observation. Dude, yeah, I actually didn't even think about that at first, but yeah, now that you mentioned it, it's another way of doing throwbacks without bludgeoning your head with them, right? And it's just the song in general is super subdued, so it just fits right into it, and it's just whoa, man.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's just, again, storytelling through music, subtle cues, not bludgeoning you with it. I guess that song is the theme of Cloud, I guess, but I think of it more like Zack's thing. I understand Hollow, that makes more sense for Cloud, right? But I kind of think of it as I don't know, I think of Zack when I hear that song, personally.
Well, that's when Zack does his sort of surprise re-entry, I guess, right? But yeah, it could fit. I think could fit for both. I still feel Cloud on that one, but
it's the story of their relationship. Cloud,
their relationship is hollow.
Yeah.
Fine time. Broadcasting worldwide.
All right, I think this would be a good time to go through just some scenes that we loved in the game, some of our favorite scenes, or stuff that we just thought was notable. But outside of the character stuff, there's a lot, but we're just gonna stick to the ones that we really feel. And I have to start with my favorite scene in the game, and that would be the Loveless play.
Ooh, that's a way to start.
This was so good, then I don't even know where to begin. I guess we could start with it being tied to Jesse, which obviously gives it, great lore and character stuff there, right?
Ties into everything.
Right. And then that choreography begins. wow, that was like a real ass modern dance ballet. Like they didn't. I would love to see the mocap on that. That was crazy.
Oh my god, can you imagine the mocap?
That was beautiful. That was so good. If I went to see that live, I would pay, I don't know how much to see something like that.
It's such a huge production, man.
It's so good. It's just unbelievable. And then the actual like play begins and everyone's in costume and yo, man, can we please talk about like I all of them? Like Barret especially. What the hell was that? That was crazy looking.
I loved Barret's costume. It really built off of his character, made him look like this imposing figure. Oh, it was such a perfect fit. It was so elaborate too.
Yeah, that was crazy good. Yeah. Then of course all their dialogue is just like so I almost don't even want to call it cheesy. It's just your standard like kind of I'm going to save the princess story, but it's just the way it's done. It felt so surreal to see all our characters we've been spending like 80 hours with at this point, just in this play randomly. This VR play was insane. I mean, I can't even look. You guys played the game. If you're listening to this, probably I don't have to explain it to you. It's just incredible. And then, Aerith caps it off with the song. Just great. I love the moment of comedy there where like Sid's asleep and like fucking Yuffie nudges him awake. Like, hey, she's on. Yeah. He doesn't give a shit about any of this, right? Which is perfect. Of course he doesn't.
Of course, yeah.
I don't think I'm being prisoner of the moment here. That might be one of the best things I've ever seen.
In a video game.
Yes. That was one of those moments for me. I mean, I don't know, New Donk City Festival. The end of Super Metroid. I don't know, whatever you might put in your like personal like Hall of Fame. For me, I think Loveless goes there then. It really does. I love, that's how much I love this. I don't have the words. I fucking love video games. The end.
This is video games on full display, man. It really has that sort of spectacle, but it's like beyond just mere spectacle. It like hit both of us so deeply to our core. And yeah, like New Donk City and Super Metroid, those at the end of Super Metroid, those are like no slouches so far as scenes go, but it was just the whole totality of the thing, and it was executed so well. It's like practically like a real stage play at that point. And yeah, how many games can actually like attest to like having a real ass stage play?
No, who has the budget? And even if they do have the budget, they would never do anything as fanciful as that. Nope. They would spend that budget on be like, I wonder if we can make this game sharper. Right? Like, I mean, that's what, and obviously Rebirth wasn't concerned about that, not in its 60 frames a second mode anyway. So like, I'll take Loveless over, I wonder if we can cut down this foliage pop. Right? I don't really care.
We need a higher res texture on the side of this mountain.
Don't care. Give me those Unreal 4 ass textures, and I'll take Loveless 100 times out of 100.
Yeah, that's what we remember. That's the impactful stuff, man.
What did you think of opening with not just the Nibelheim flashback, but opening with Zack? Because that makes it like a literal direct continuation after remake, as direct as you could possibly be.
I think it really keeps us on our toes, right? Because obviously this is not really a thing that happened in the original 97 experience. So just the fact that, Zack is like dragging Cloud around is really curious. And what really hit me personally was the X's over like the party's portraits, right? And I'm like, yo, what is going on with this, man? Like, this has to be like a different timeline, because surely Barret and Tifa are not dead, right?
They're dead. They were dead in that. They were dead. Yeah. And then like Red 13 dies in the helicopter crash and saving Aerith. Yeah. And then like they're dead.
It's a way to really hit the ground running and really keep us on our toes. And I'm like, yo, what the hell is happening?
I felt like Zack was all of us when remember that part where he's just looking around, it's like, this is so messed up. Remember that? I was like, that's us. That's us saying that.
It's like, we never would have imagined like these cherished characters like gone, man. That's such a shocker.
Speaking of shockers, maybe the most shocking scene to me in the game, just as far as like came out of nowhere, the bald bar in Junon. Like, what in the hell was that? I don't even think you have to go there.
You don't, because you're trying to recruit like people for like the infantry or whatever, and so that's like just a path that you can just go down the stairs or whatever. And like Rude is just chilling there because he's obviously like the big bald.
Well, he did.
Like,
well, yeah. I mean, he did the little wink, shine his head, wink, salute, right? And then they both walk down there, and then you're like, what the hell is this?
They're all bald, and you look you're like a fish out of water because you're trying to disguise yourself. So you got like a helmet on and everything. They're like, you guys got to take your helmet off to be in here. I'm like, what?
Yeah, even the women are bald. Like everyone's bald. It's
yeah. It put me in a weird position because I'm like, oh god, like we can't remove our helmets because that blows our cover and it shows that we're not bald. And of course, Cloud is like the exact opposite. He's Mr. fucking spiky hair, man, right? So,
yeah, I mean, his hair was half his personality in the first game, right? It's an original
what people
game.
Known for him and his big sword, exactly, right? So
yeah, sword and hair more than a dude. But you seem to like that entire Junon sequence in general.
I actually really like situations like that because things are like kind of like awkward because you're infiltrating, right? And you have to recruit people, and like the whole time, like thinking, how the hell would Cloud know how to do any of the Shinra stuff? He hasn't been part of this for such a long time, but somehow he fakes the funk in a compelling way. Maybe the management is just dumb, but like, no, he manages to like recruit this whole thing, and but he actually straight up like builds like camaraderie with like these new teammates, and I thought that was really endearing and cool. Even if it's like a little weird that you kind of bring people around to like beat up other people in Shinra, that kind of seems a little strange to me. But
it's a little weird. It's a little weird.
And I'm like, I'm not sure why we're beating the crap out of each other when we're trying to like find the intruder. But there's a part at the end of all that where Cloud is about to depart because obviously he can't stay with these schmuckos. So he's like, oh, yo, like I have to like he's all there by himself, and the other troopers are all like, hey, like we're sorry to see you go. Will we see each other again? And then Cloud says, like, you can count on it. But thinking back on this, the whole game is kind of about promises, or perhaps not keeping promises now, isn't it?
Yeah, I thought that was weird. Yeah, they really made like a thing out of it, right?
Yeah.
And then like Yuffie tries to assassinate Rufus. You know, that was a thing that happened, right? that all of that was. Yeah, all of that was crazy. That was so. I mean, you even have to do the mini game where you have to breathe in, to line up the shot.
That's for the fake sniper part.
Yeah, fake sniper, fake silent scope with a ninja star.
Yeah. I think I fucked it up because I don't think I like breathed properly the first time. So I had to, like,
I fucked it up. I fucked it up for sure. I fucked it up the first time. Okay. Queen's Blood tournament on the boat. I'm not even sure I have anything to say. Again, if you're listening to this, you played the game, you saw it, it was crazy. You know what I would liken it to? It might be a weird comparison, but it that whole boat ride reminded me of like a classic sitcom episode where they go on vacation. Let's go to Disneyland or something like that. Remember when Disney bought ABC in the mid 90s and then every sitcom went to Disneyland? Remember that shit? That's what it reminded me of. And nowadays this might be referred to as like an anime beach episode. This game has that too, by the way. But this Queen's Blood thing was like straight out of Bewitched or something. It felt like something that would happen in the 60s. It was,
man.
I don't think I'll ever fully get over Red 13 pretending to be like a human in that, like, standing on two legs. I mean, that image will be burned in my brain for life.
You know, the animation is done so well too, and he's like stumbling over extremely awkwardly. He's doing his best, man, and apparently nobody really like found out, I guess. But no, it's so like it's so visually like captivating in a really over the top way. Just because like we never could have seen this coming, man. It's just such an expansion of existing things in ways we couldn't have seen. And yeah, I just loved how all the cast had a bit of an edge. Like if you try to play against Aerith, she's like joking about how she's gonna like beat you at cards or whatever. I'm like, okay.
And Chadley's out there just destroying everybody. Like it's great.
Oh my god, it's great. Oh my god.
There's a scene. I just thought of this. There's a scene with Chadley. I know you didn't do all the proto relic stuff, right?
I did not.
Okay, I think there's one in Gungaga. If you're doing the Gungaga one, he's involved in this. Of course, he's involved with it because it's a proto relic. But he's particularly involved with this one. I forget why now. But at the end of it, they were talking about something about the live stream, and then he just has a random thought. He says out loud, he's like, "Will I return to the live stream when I die? Considering like what I am."
Ooh.
And then Barret was like, "Yeah, of course. Why wouldn't you?"
Huh.
And then everyone just something else happens and they move on. But like, I remember thinking like, "Huh, he actually said that. Wow,
that's deep." It's interesting that he was so straight laced about it. Yeah, because like most of us would wonder, but
yeah. I think maybe some of the others may have been, but. It's interesting considering how Barret loves all that planet shit, cares about the planet, right? I mean, I guess I guess for him it would be no big deal to say, yeah,
if you're sentient, you go back. Yeah,
yeah. But maybe some of the other, I mean, they didn't get into it too deeply, obviously, but yeah, I like that little moment. Another moment I really enjoyed is when you go back to Nibelheim in chapter 12 or whatever, and two noteworthy things happen when you're climbing up the mountain, when you're going up Mount Nibbles. So one, Cloud has that moment where he speaks exactly like Sephiroth, word for word.
Oh, so creepy.
That was fucking, wow, that was weird. Yeah, that really clues you in. I mean, you already know he's fucked up. That really clues you in.
It's like, bro, you're not Sephiroth.
And, yeah, well, he may think he is at that point. And then two, Cloud remembered that it wasn't a random Shinra flunky who drowned going down the river. That was Zack.
Oh my god!
And what this really does, I think, it cements once and for all that we can't trust anything from Cloud's perspective, no matter what. And since most of the game is from his perspective, we can't believe jack shit. Right? And this obviously, I thought that was a great setup going into the final two chapters because you need that final establishment of, oh, he just doesn't know.
He doesn't know. Someone tell him. Someone tell you we're in Nibelheim the whole time.
Yeah. Maybe Tifa could have just said so, but hey, whatever.
Yeah, someone could have said so. But here's the crazy part to me: it's like he bent the narrative so far that he made sense to him, but he wasn't even like doing these things yet. He's placing Zack in that position of being like fucked up, right? And it's like it really speaks to the depth of just his sort of delusion. And that's like crazy. That is insane to me.
Speaking of crazy, how do you think they handled Dyne, Barret and Dyne in this version?
The acting was so good because Dyne is a sociopath. Man, he sounds crazy. He like in the original like 97 experience, I thought it was just, I don't remember anything about what they talked about. I just remember like, oh, like this 1v1 me bro sort of thing. And that's all, that was my only takeaway from the whole thing. But in here we get a glimpse into Dyne's deranged mental state. He's even implying that he stole Marlene, that Barret stole Marlene from him, right? And like that's like incredible. And like there's a whole like shot of him like having like Marlene's like sort of like photo in his hand. And like there's like so many layers of just like mental shenanigans that like it was just so impactful this time. I'm sure it impacted you too.
Yeah, absolutely. It was yeah, for sure. The director said that this is one aspect of the original game that they really wanted to improve on, and I think they did.
Oh, easy. So, oh, yeah. For us to actually like care this time and talk about it.
Yeah. I thought it was crazy, and it was my favorite Zack scene where it was the one where he's asking Marlene questions about, because it's clear that she knows some stuff that Zack doesn't. So so Zack's trying to prod her on this. And then Marlene eventually says, like, you have to make Cloud get better because if Aerith wakes up, a scary man is going to kill her. Cloud tries to save her, but he doesn't make it in time.
Yeah.
Marlene says. And it's like, what?
You want to talk about knowing the future, like wink, wink, nudge, nudge, but what a crazy, like, sort of meta comment to make, as it were, right? And it's clear that since Zack is here, it's already like jumping off the rails, but the fact that she said that is really nutty, because we know, having played it, and but also kind of creates a sort of situation where, like, hey, can anything be done to avert this? It's like, could it be different? Could it actually be different if she knows about this? And we're kept wondering the whole time, and that's great.
That was the whole point of those those things. Yeah, it keeps you guessing. That's how you build intrigue into a game where everyone already knows all the events. Right? You have to do stuff like that, and you expect stuff like that. I would never just want a straight on remake of these kind of games. I'd be so boring.
Yeah, so it would be super boring. Yeah.
So I'm glad they did this. Maybe I don't want to say my favorite scene, but like, you know what? No, it's okay. It's not my favorite scene. It's my favorite Cloud and Aerith interaction, and it's after the Costa del Sol fight. You know, by the way, that entire thing was crazy. Remember how Cloud was acting so weird about seeing Tifa and Aerith in a bathing suit? It's clear he was so embarrassed for some reason. I don't know why he was acting that way. It was weird. And then like a child almost. And then Hojo shows up with the cyber octopus.
Oh my god, with the controls too, right?
Yeah. He was like pressing. It keeps coming back to him, like pressing the control pad, and then the cyber octopus does something. It's so
mad
good.
Scientist life. It's so crazy. And there's a part where Cloud whips out like an umbrella because his weapon's back at the hotel.
Yeah,
like, what?
he reaches for it. He's like, and he just picks up a beach umbrella and starts whooping ass with it. Oh, apparently that affects. Remember the two groups are fighting. That affects like affinity, I guess. Which one you pick?
Oh yeah, I figured as much. I think I chose Aerith. That explains a few things.
Okay, I didn't really think about that at the time, but like, yeah.
But the fact they give you the choice, though, that's crazy. Though I was like, huh, what? That's I was expecting the pick. But.
Yeah. But so after that beach battle, and it's sunset, and you get to talk to all the characters. You have a little moment with everybody. By the way, I like that. When you go into every town, you get to basically talk to every character, just hanging out. You get to have a moment with them if you want. I really like that. But you get to do that here. Yeah, on the beach. You get to do that. And when you talk to Aerith, it was a really crazy conversation. You know, she starts talking about, you know, her and her mom. They were kidnapped because she was a Cetra, etc. Mm-hmm. And she's talking about Hojo. I think the direct quote, yeah, it's right here. After all the pain and horror he put us through, I hate him. Sometimes I imagine the things I'd do to him if I got the chance. I start thinking things so dark and ugly that it scares me.
Oh my gosh. And for her to say that, she's like super nicey nice. And this is so shocking.
But that's only natural, of course, that she would feel that way. Duh. I mean, yeah.
Of course.
You know, but it's just it's wild that she vocalized that. And then you could say something is Cloud, and then it goes on from there. I think I picked like, well, they're just thoughts, you know, they're, you know, it doesn't, it's not real, you know, but yeah, she says a little, she says a few sentences out loud, and Cloud's like, that's good or whatever. And then she says, not you, that was to her, my future self. Can't say when you'll meet, but trust me, you'll love her. Just you wait.
That's so crazy. Wow, man.
What?
That's big brain as hell, dude. And that leads into the successive chapters. It's so big brain.
That's so wild. Yeah. By the way, I love the shot of Yuffie turning Johnny into multiple Johnnies, like ninja Johnnies with the leaf on his head.
Yeah, I almost forgot.
And then that leads to a side quest where there's multiple Johnnies, right? I love that they like continued that. It was so weird.
What a joke. What a slapstick joke. It's great. It's amazing. I think we gotta talk about something that really stood out to us, which was when you entered the gold saucer, it was essentially money burning on a screen, which is a thing that we like to say about anything extravagant, but it really was. I mean, between the whole like cabaret act and like the pseudo Las Vegas routine, with like the stand up with Dio, and that like, and there's costume changes. Like, I could not believe what I was seeing. And
it was crazy. Just Yuffie just entered, and she just magical girl transforms into God knows what, and he starts dancing.
Like, how would you know to do this?
Yeah, like, how do you know to do this? And then Tifa and Aerith are dancing with her, and it's like, but you buy it. Right? It's just
Yeah,
like,
you
okay,
do.
whatever, I guess, because this game is so insane. This game is Disneyland. This is like, sure. You know how you buy anything in this game? You know how we're just totally in the tank for it? Remember, so Dyne comes to this golden saucer, shoots it up, right? And then you're talking to Dio in the back because he thinks Barret did it. Obviously, he's the only person he saw with a gun arm, and he's like telling you the whole situation while flexing the whole time. And, there's like dead bodies and tarps like around you because it's literally a murder scene, and this dude is flexing. Muscle Daddy is flexing on your ass.
He doesn't care, man. It's just so over the top. Oh my gosh.
I forget on Twitter who called him Muscle Daddy, but he is.
Stuff. Yeah. Just, you better find who did it. Flex.
Yeah. Dude, he couldn't. Yeah, look, man, if I were however old he was and I looked like that, I'll tell you what, I'd be flexing. I mean,
oh,
geez.
That's great.
Didn't look young, I'll tell you that much. He has it.
I had to glance at the scene again just to prepare myself, and I forgot that Yuffie actually faints. She just like drops and lickety split. She's like, "Oh my god!" It's like,
yeah, they're all
faints super fast too.
Yeah, they're freaking out in the audience. Yeah, she faints. Yeah, it's really good, really good stuff.
Oh, that's amazing.
Okay, real quick, do we have anything else before we start talking about Chapter 13 and 14? We're going to try to do those all together in one spot because that's the best way to do that kind of thing. But before we get there, do we have anything else? Speak now or forever hold your peace.
We have something that's kind of odd, and that's like the Moogle design. What the hell happened?
Oh no, why do they look like that? What's with the teeth? Why do they have the teeth?
They look like really bad animatronics, right?
Why not just use the Moogles from 16? One of the
most iconic Final Fantasy critters turned into like a bear with like these beady quote unquote eyes.
It's the teeth for me that I can't get over. I don't know why. It's almost like the original CGI Sonic design with the teeth. It's like everyone's freaked out. Yeah,
that's pretty bad. Okay, you're not wrong though. You're not wrong.
Yeah, that's kind of. I don't know what happened. I thought it was interesting and probably the right call to not hide that Cait Sith is Reeve.
Yeah,
I don't think there's anything else. Yeah, we all know that. Mm-hmm. And there's nothing else they could have done in this game to like really trick that up. So I'm glad they just kind of put it out there. Everyone knows.
I think it's just interesting though that he admits to being a Shinra flunky like lickety split though. He's like, yeah, I'm from Shinra. I'm like, and they play off of the whole run. He's all Barret's like, we don't trust you. You're a Shinra lapdog. Like, what are you doing here? You're like a Shinra person, which like all obviously culminates in the whole thing at the end of chapter 12, where like, you know, inevitably Cait Sith has to do his thing. So I'm just like, when's Cait Sith going to do it? Is he even going to backstab anyone? Well, it's just like, oh, what? But
you don't know how that could play out, right? Yeah, because like, you're right. If we already know he's going to double cross us, is it any point in doing it again? I guess you have to. I guess you really don't have to. If you did, that was really the question.
We didn't know. Yeah.
So, but they did. All right, is that it? You ready to go to the point of no return, just like in the game?
Indeed, we're going to the Northland, right?
Northland or whatever. I don't even know what it's called. Up north.
Up north. Dat Forest up north. I'm ready.
Dat Forest. Okay, let's go. All right, we've landed. We're going towards the Temple of the Ancients. We're here. Okay, we're not going to touch on every single thing that happened these last two chapters. We've been talking long enough because we'll be here forever. We've already been here a long time. But we're just going to go through the stuff that we want to talk about in chronological order so we can just keep it straight, you know?
Oh, you got to keep it straight. There's too much in here if you don't.
Yeah, we've been jumping all over the place before this, and it doesn't matter. But here we really want to keep it straight, obviously. So
yeah, I do.
Let's start at the beginning. So they get to the temple. They have that initial battle with the Shinra soldiers, right? And then Cloud sees a robed man who was formerly Roche.
Yeah, you can tell because of the hair. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Tifa asks Cloud if he knows who that is, and Cloud's just like, let's go, or whatever. He doesn't really answer.
Okay. Thanks for answering the question.
Man, that's kind of I never thought I would pity that guy, right? I always just kind of thought of him as a weird diversion, but I never thought he would turn out to be that pathetic.
That's
just like getting injections from Hojo and stuff. I didn't really think they'd take him that direction, but I guess that's the end of that character. So
I didn't expect it either. Yeah, that was a real shock.
Yeah.
You want to talk shock though?
Oh God, yeah. So they go through they go through the temple, blah blah blah. I know you had a bit of trouble. Just one gameplay thing, if we can. You had a bit of trouble with the Aerith, like the energy and like siphoning it to like different like.
It took a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember watching.
The temple was like labyrinthy, man. Like there was a path I didn't see or something. I was like paying too much attention to like the mini map, so I thought I had been there, but I actually had not been there. So I got side turned, man. Side turned.
Yeah, it's easy to do. Yeah, no shame. It's just it's tough. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, but after all that, you get to each character's personal trials, if you will. Everyone has to go in a door.
Yeah.
And experience a trial, but I don't think they're trials at all. I think they're just misery.
They're not trials. They're nightmares.
They are nightmares. Dude, I don't even... Oh, man. Red 13 with the experimentation shit or whatever, or trying to...
Yeah.
That was rough. I think for me, it's Aerith. I mean, I know that's the easy answer, but the fact that you actually have to play as her as a little girl... Her mom is dying. You find, I can never remember the name of her surrogate mother. God damn.
Elmira's her surrogate.
Elmira, yeah. She finds her. I mean, just that whole thing, and she comes back, and her mother's already dead. That whole thing was crazy. I didn't think they'd actually make you play that out. That was nuts.
It's really crazily impactful because like the other people in town don't care, right? They just like don't even like help her at all. She's like, "Yo, you know where a doctor is?" And people just
I didn't give a
blow
shit.
It off, right? So it's like crazy, and just it makes you feel really bad for Aerith, right?
Yeah.
I think what got me though was Barret's, because you flash back to Corel and you see his wife, right? Only for Corel to just like instantly like get like blown up in the wake of the reactor, but. The game cuts to like a camera shot of like his arm, but it's like the bloody stump arm, like way up close to the camera. And I'm like, because it threw me off because right beforehand he had both of his arms because that's a flashback. Yeah, but then all of a sudden it's like JK, here's a stump. I'm like, yo, man, is this pushing up against the rating of the game? Like, this is really bloody.
They really pushed this teen rating. Yeah, they pushed it. They really did. I can't believe they got away with what they got away with. Honestly,
yeah, like a bloody stump,
they couldn't do everything. Like like in the Dyne flashbacks or whatever when that one bitch from Shinra, I can't remember her name right now.
Scarlet.
Yuffie says, yeah, Scarlet. Yuffie, oh God, that was one of the best line reads in the game when Yuffie was like, that bitch.
It's great.
Wow. She fucking hates her ass.
Yeah, that was a subplot. That was a subtext that we never even got in the original games. Like, they added that, man.
But, like, when they're shooting them in the arms and they fall over, they didn't, like, literally, like, blow up their arm. I mean, they couldn't really do that,
away.
probably.
Yeah, it cuts away.
Well, I mean, it's shooting them in the arms, but they couldn't, like, really show.
Oh, that's what it is. Yeah, they miss. You're right.
Yeah, they can't really, because otherwise they'll, But... yeah, the Barret thing was weird. You know what really struck me about that is that it was him in quote unquote real life experiencing that because like he looks at his arms like, oh shit, I have my arm back. But then he goes to Myrna, his wife, and then she's like, why are you acting so weird or whatever? But he's experiencing this for, that juxtaposition was like, that's what made it crazy to me.
And he actually acts like he's back, like he actually acts for a time like he's back home. But even though, like, by all logical sort of like definition, he's like obviously dreaming, right? But he plays it up. He's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna chill back home, and until he doesn't, right? But
but then of course everyone comes out of their trial rooms. Everyone looks fucking fucked up. Right,
so
because
looking.
Everyone looks miserable as hell, and Aerith notices this, and that's when she makes her motivational speech, punctuated by Cloud sneering like, "Are you finished?"
Which is crazy. That's so crazy to me.
And then they leave, and then that's when you're really like, uh-oh. Because it's clear at that point that Cloud is too gaslit by Sephiroth to do much else. Sephiroth has basically completely taken him over. The closer they get to this black materia and the closer they get to this goal, he's just been becoming more and more just messed up. And like, that's a subtext that did not come across in the original game, because I know that he says that, but it just comes across of him being like again, it's just him being a dick. But now you know why that's happening.
Yeah, there's because he sees Sephiroth one too many times. His mind is messed up because he should never be acting that way towards Aerith. He actually like is connecting with her up to this point, but like the cutting off so abruptly, it's like, wow, what a fucking douchebag. But even then, can he really help it? Right?
Well, I mean, I think that's why they don't like really go after him about it. Like, hey, you're being an asshole right now. They don't really say that because they know that he's fucked up, right?
He's got one too many Mako cells.
Yeah. Okay, there's one thing I didn't really understand. When they get to the black materia, Cloud is clearly possessed by it. Barret grabs it and tosses it, and that's when Cloud has this whining, "It's mine," or whatever. What does he say?
I love that part.
No, what is it? What does he say? I forget.
Yeah, he says, "Hey, that's mine."
Okay, it does say that's mine. Yeah, and he's like, "Yeah, go get it, asshole."
And he tosses it.
But why did Aerith say it's a fake?
See, this is the part that kind of screws me up because I'm conflating my memories of the original, which are not necessarily relevant here, and then the original, like the Temple of the Ancients, becomes the black materia or something of that sort, but you don't see that happen here. So I'm like, is this still happening? Is this not happening? It's like, I mean, if it is a fake, then where's the real one, right? So I'm like, oh, I don't know.
Yeah, and then back outside, of course, like Aerith tries to retreat with the materia. This is after like he takes her from, who has it first, Tifa or something, and then
I think so. Yeah,
he takes it from her, and because he's totally possessed, he probably would kill her at that point if he didn't give it up. And then Aerith takes it, and then that's when we get the weird sequence of like him being sort of possessed, sort of walking towards her, and he's being creepy as hell. The Aerith,
this is so creepy. Let's talk.
Let's talk. Yeah, it's like, whoa,
that's some serial killer shit, dude. Holy shit, dude. I don't want to see this guy in a dark alley. Holy shit.
But why? I remember, again, I watched you stream these last two chapters, and you were hella LOLing at Cloud's bitch made, like, hey, that's mine, or whatever.
That's mine. It's like, bro, come on, man. How old are you?
Yeah, it's like, how old are you? Well, I guess he's still 16 or whatever in his stupid mind. But yeah, Aerith, just excellent stuff.
Just
yeah, and then we know the rest. Obviously, he gets the material. They both fall. And then they go into the abyss.
Yeah, so that's a way to kick off the end of chapter 13, right? And going into the next part, like you see, like the Shinra dudes, Rufus and Hojo are in their chopper, and they're seeing the temple collapse, and there's a bunch of whispers everywhere, because of course there are whispers everywhere. And Rufus asks Hojo what to make of this, and of course Hojo is crazy. He's like, well, he claims he doesn't know, but he says that Shinra can stand the dream far bigger, whatever the fuck that's supposed to mean.
He sees the potential. I mean, this guy created Mako soldiers and this whole bit, right? Like, he's a real villain of the game, obviously.
He is. He kicks off everything. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, he's a real villain. I mean, he always has been.
Yeah, Sephiroth is just the aftermath of all of it. Yeah.
God, I cannot wait to kill him in part 3. Oh my God.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah.
I cannot
that'd be
wait.
Great. They're going to play that up, too, though. It's going to be so
they really
bombastic.
do. Even the original game, they kind of,
They did, yeah. He has the whole transformation, yeah.
But yeah, like, I don't know what that means, stand a dream far bigger, but obviously he sees the potential in whatever this is to do other weird shit.
Yeah, because he's a freaking mad scientist, and he's sociopath.
And then something happens.
So here's the craziest thing, right? So we go back to Zack, who is, so like the whole game there's been these cut-ins with Zack, and then of course now he's back. So he's trying.
Zack back.
Yeah, Zack is back. he's sort of like in this tunnel, but it has a two-way split. So he points left and right and back and forth, and he literally has to choose between finding a cure for Cloud or trying to stop Biggs from blowing up Reactor 6. So he's pointing, and then he makes he like decides one of them. He like I think he drives the path where like he's gonna save Cloud or whatever, trying to find Hojo. And the other path like flashes white, like it glows, like as this light shaft just glows white. I'm like, okay, that's kind of fucking strange.
Yeah, it's kind of it was like a rainbow effect almost.
Yeah,
it kind of like whoosh, and it had like sort of a thing, right?
Yeah, I'm just like, what?
Yeah, and it was just like, okay, what was that? That was the scene for me, okay? Because more than any other scene in these final moments, that was the scene for me that made me go, what the actual fuck am I watching?
Yeah.
I that part blew. I was like, okay, what are we even doing? And of course, right when that happens, you get thrown right into Aerith and Cloud date scene in the Zack timeline. Aerith wakes up, Cloud wakes up out of the wheelchair, whatever he's in, and Aerith knows what's going on. This isn't like a different Aerith. That's like omnipotent Aerith or whatever he called her. God Aerith. I forget her term for her.
Yeah.
But clearly she's trying to lead Cloud along here so he's not too disoriented. She knows. And they're going on that weird date. All that date stuff was weird, wasn't it? I think the thing that stuck out for me was the photographer thing where they said they look like they're at a funeral. Yeah.
I mean, which kind of like plays into sort of like the motif of the thing where like that could be true, I guess, but it's so weird that he made that observation though. It's just,
that was weird. All that date stuff was weird. And of course Cloud doesn't get it. He's like, why are you acting so weird?
He says it the whole time. Like, what's wrong? Like, what's going on?
But then, of course, the audience is glued in. We see the black feather, and you hear Sephiroth is like, this is where you've been hiding. I think he says, this is where you've been hiding, a world that's already accepted its fate.
Yes. Yeah, that's what he says, yeah. And I'm like, oh, man. Like, what's going on with this place? This place is fucked, dude.
Yeah. And then they get to the church. She gives them the white materia. Sephiroth basically opens the door to kill her.
Yeah.
And then she's like, I could be misremembering this, but I think she says, whatever happens, don't blame yourself.
Yes. Yeah.
And then she pushes him through the flowers to another dimension, to another
it's a white space. The flowers become this white portal, and he's like, Aerith, as he falls down the portal. I'm like, what?
Because Sephiroth found her, and he has to get the fuck out of there before, because she knows if he sees Sephiroth, he's going to try to fight him and save her or whatever the hell he's going to try to
avert quote unquote fate or whatever.
Right, and that would fuck up the whole thing because he needs to have the white materia and GTFO.
But the weirdest part to me is how there's even a portal in the first place. They don't really explain how like she's able to push him through.
That's God Aerith.
She's got Aerith. I guess
it's God Aerith. She can do whatever the hell she wants.
Of course.
Well, do you remember that part during when she appears during the final battle where Sephiroth's like, "Oh, I underestimated you," or something like that? Yeah. See, they're on the same level.
Oh, the God Sephiroth? Oh, that's scary.
Well, I mean, he is. He can appear. He can do whatever the fuck. He can cut a whale materia belly in half and save Tifa for some reason.
I guess it's the power of L'Oreal.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's the power of Pantene Pro V hair products.
Moisturizer and conditioner.
Looks good even underwater.
Yes, it does. You know, the weirdest part to me, though, is that, it cuts back to Zack, right? And he's doing all these choices or whatever, but the next scene shows him with Biggs, which is the opposite of what we saw like a few minutes ago, because I could have sworn he had chosen to go save Cloud. So the fact that he's with Biggs, and I'm like, what the hell are you doing here, dude? Like, what? So it kind of really confused me because I almost got gaslit myself. So
that was the point, though. I think that was the point.
Yeah. So they have this whole thing about, Zack is trying to cheer him up only for, Biggs to go down by Shinra gunfire, right? And then it's like this whole thing where Zack jumps over like the railing into like his unknown fate or something. It's like, I don't know if I would be jumping over a railing. Seems kind of dangerous, but it's crazy though. But in retrospect, they're playing off the multiple timeline thing. Like the fact one world could have had this happen, maybe another world had this happen. I think that's the only explanation.
Yeah, but I think they're trying to say that all the things do actually happen. It's just a matter of, I mean, it makes sense later when I guess you don't see it in the strictest sense, but the convergence, that's what Sephiroth keeps talking about, converging the worlds together, which is what he wants. No more of this split shit, you know? Mm-hmm. And that's what he lays out as after Aerith pushes him through the portal there, and then Cloud sees Sephiroth, and then he's falling through, and Sephiroth appears, and he basically lays out the whole game. This is the true nature of reality, yada yada, and then it's just showing scenes of showing like remake and like all this other stuff, like all these worlds and blah blah blah, multitude of worlds. He lays it all out there, and I'm glad they actually said that in plain terms, with Sephiroth explaining it basically to the audience, because I didn't want them to keep going on assuming everybody knows what's going on, just in case they didn't know. Hey, here's what's actually happening.
And it's a really crazy visual, because just seeing these other scenes in this ethereal space, like, it's actually really trippy, right? But that kind of plays into the whole like motif of what's going on. And the craziest thing to me is that he once again drops his familiar 7 seconds until the end line, which was uttered in remake. And I'm like, we still don't really know what this means.
Yeah, but what will you do with it? I think he says after 7 seconds to the end, what will you do with it?
And it's like, well, what do you mean I have 7 seconds?
What is that? Well, there's like clock shit. Remember in the Temple of the Ancients when they go back a few hours earlier or whatever, and they go to the other party? That's like gears. It's like a clock.
Literal gears. Yeah, it's literal gears. Yeah.
So that's something's going on here with time. Remember in the original game, you had to do the clock puzzle. You had to go in the hands of the clock to get to the different doors. Yeah, you don't do that in this game, but
it shows the visual between as like a stinger, like a little transition between things instead.
Yeah, right. So it's something. But yeah, then obviously he gets pushed through the portal. They show some quick scenes of what happened. Cloud holding Aerith's hand to prevent them from falling. Cloud on the ground, the party trying to tend to him or whatever, and he's like knocked out.
Yeah, it's like a first person camera. Yeah,
right. And then they're like going through the forest there, and Barret. Did I just make another ship?
Are you hybridizing everybody?
Did I do Barret? Yeah, Barret and Aerith. Barret? What am I doing today?
You could find that on your fan art site of choice. Maybe also, I'm just kidding.
Fanfiction.net definitely has a lot of Barret fan.
A lot? Yeah, there's probably some. Yeah.
Oh, come on. It's Final Fantasy VII. There's a lot of everything, right?
Sure.
Barret is carrying Cloud. He wakes up and he's like, oh, hey, you're finally awake or whatever. And then, by the way, Yuffie's talking to him. Hey, I heard Sephiroth kicked your ass back there, blah, blah, blah. That was clearly Aerith covering for Cloud.
Yeah.
That's so weird that I think it's crazy that she did that. She could have easily said, oh, Cloud tried to attack me. He was possessed by whatever. And then I gave him the black materia. I mean, none of that happened. She covered for
no serial killer talk.
Aerith. Yeah, it's... Did you think it was interesting that she covered for him? I mean, I guess she would at this point, but
she's so nicey, but honestly, like any one of us would have been like, yeah, he was possessed. But I think maybe she realized that it wasn't in the best interest to like say what literally happened. I guess, but yeah. But I really like the part where Cloud's like trying to play it off like he didn't get his ass kicked, and then eventually he relents. He's like, fine, I got the shit kicked out of me by Sephiroth.
Yeah, and
he took it.
Okay, enough stalling. Let's talk about the moment. We have to do it. Okay.
Yeah, the most memorable part.
She's praying there. He goes up there. All the whispers all around. Sephiroth descends from the ceiling to do the thing. Cloud sword clashes with him. and he seemingly deflects his sword.
Yeah, I was like, what? It's like,
and I was like, whoa, they actually, and here, look, this is the thing I said for 4 years. I said for 4 years, Aerith is not going to die. I said it for 4 years, didn't I? I was like, that was always my big prediction about this game. And then,
yeah,
of
that's
course,
how you subvert expectations.
Right. And then for 5 seconds, I get to be like, yes, I was right. And then I wasn't right. And then I was right. And then I wasn't right.
But they distort it in such a weird way because we literally see Masamune like deflected onto the ground, but then the visual like effects come in and everything distorts, and all of a sudden we're like, wait, what? Huh, what? And then it happens. I'm like, wait, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah. And then, yeah, the visuals, the sword's in the ground, and then it distorts to a version of the sword with blood on it.
Yeah,
and then
the
Aerith
blood
falls, the holy materia falls out of her hair, clinks down into the drink, and she's dead. And it's like, it happened. Okay.
Even though like we supposedly averted fate, but maybe in retrospect, maybe some convergence took place or something, right? It's like, who knows? But that's wild to me. It's like we succeeded, then we didn't.
But then as Cloud is cradling her body, right, holding her body, it keeps cutting to other realities where he's like actually talking to her.
Yeah.
But then in our timeline, he's not.
Yeah, that's right.
But he's speaking. So my interpretation of that is that's what's actually happening. He's saying, because doesn't he have a little speech after that happens? We'll never get to see her again, blah, blah, blah. I think that's like referring to that. I think in the original Final Fantasy VII, he's talking as he's cradling her body. I think that's what they're trying to show us.
I think so. Yeah, I think.
But in Cloud's fucked up reality, he's just holding her, and then he's like, wait, I got this. I saved her. I saved Aerith. I deflected Sephiroth's sword.
He's having a conversation with her, but the rest of the party can't possibly see that.
No,
right?
I think she's dead. I think she's just saying his final goodbyes or whatever.
Well, yeah, I mean, but he's having the delusion, like, as if he's able to have a conversation when, for all intents and purposes, he's just talking to himself, right?
Yeah, I guess so. Because, like, again, when I first saw this, that's why I watched you stream this, not just to see your reactions or whatever. Mm-hmm. I mean, that too. But I had to watch it again myself just to make sure of what I saw, because I was shell shocked.
You're like, what the hell did I just see? It's like, what? So distortion heavy, man. But no, yeah, it's a scene that needs to be rewatched to be properly interpreted, I guess. Well, no, I don't even know if we can properly interpret.
Well, yeah, see, we're sitting here talking, okay, like, again, I mean, I watched you, but, like, what did you think? Did you think, like, okay, saved her, okay, didn't save her? Could you possibly remember what you thought at this time? Because
I thought, I mean, at the time, I thought we successfully did it. However, that doesn't, I think I was too shell-shocked to really come up with a logical explanation, to be honest.
And I think that's the intended effect. They want you to be shell-shocked. And because, here's something I noticed. And I didn't notice this until your playthrough. Mm-hmm. When he deflects the sword, the rainbow shit happens. Like Zack in the tunnel. Yes. So maybe that signified a timeline split right?
I can see that, yeah, actually, yeah.
I saw that shit. Maybe I could be reading into that, but it definitely happened.
Well, I think there's definitely splits to some degree if he's able to deflect the sword. Because, again, the sword goes flying. It's, like, not even close, at least seemingly so, but...
Anyway, so yeah, all the final battles happen or whatever. You fight the Genova Lifeklinger. We saw that, we talked about that already with the music. That was crazy.
Yeah.
Zack factors into this. He fights an aspect of Genova as well. Playing as him he was hella OP. He was
so
OP
good as loaded.
Shit.
He has like his
this shit's crazy. You can use like every spell like on everybody. It's like, oh my god, he had like everything. I didn't get to use this limit break. I think I forgot, but
it's cool. No, it was a cool. I almost forgot to do it, but yeah, it lives up to the intrigue and power of Zack. It really does.
Yeah, and then Zack and Cloud actually get to fight together. You know, that whole bit, which is, I guess, Cloud didn't really seem. I don't know. He had a weird reaction to this, as if it was supposed to happen.
You know, the weird part to me is that, like, so supposedly in Cloud's head, like, Zack like fell down a river and died, but Zack, like, after he walks through ethereal space and taps him in the shoulder, and Zack's like, hey, you've been up to some cool stuff, or like whatever, not in so many words, but then Cloud only says Zack, and that's all he says. And I'm like, wait, like, wouldn't this be more of a shock seeing like your supposed best friend Like, shouldn't you like have more of a reaction? He didn't say shit.
No.
He didn't say a goddamn thing.
No.
I'm just
it
like,
was just like,
what?
okay, I guess.
Yeah, it's so weird.
But yeah, they fight they fight that aspect as Sephiroth himself, if you will, comes, and then Aerith steps through a portal. Oh, I'm here. Let's fight Sephiroth together. They beat him, and then they're standing back to back, holding hands. Going back to quote unquote reality, and then she slowly fades away as that happens. But immediately after that, they get back. He's holding her lifeless body again, and he's like, "Aerith, wake up!" And then she wakes up.
What? It's like, so I thought she died, but
and then immediately after that, they're all sitting around the pool, all sad, and then Barret's like, "Okay, we gotta go," and then Cloud's like, first of all, he has a very robotic answer. Yep, sounds good.
It's super robotic. You're right. Yeah, actually,
and then Tifa's like, "Fuck you," like the way she looks at him. But then he has that kind of like psychotic. His head hurts again, and then he sees Aerith.
Yeah, like the little static effect happens, yeah.
Basically what I'm trying to say is we're on the goddamn roller coaster right now, right? Is she or is she not? Because like every scene we're getting something else. And it's like, well, wait a second.
It's alternating, yeah. It's and like this bamboozled you, I know for sure. But so like as they're beginning to leave, like I actually sort of noticed, like as there's a far out shot showing them all walking away, but Aerith is not actually in that shot. It's hard to see, but she's not walking in that shot, but which is in direct opposition to the shot that just happened where she's sitting right next to him. Because obviously, positionally, she should be like right next to him if they're all walking together, right? So like
she also but she also looked kind of creepy when she was sitting there, and
did she?
She looked at Cloud. I mean, it looked kind of creepy to me. Maybe it was the way it was lit or something.
Oh, I didn't see that. Okay, yeah,
it looked weird. Oh, I mean, like it was creepy when he smiled back at her when he said, "Aerith, wake up," and she did. Quote unquote, woke up, and then he smiled. Yeah, but like that's what he needs to believe.
Yeah, because he's Mako. He's fucked up from all the Mako.
And then, okay, so then there's the final CGI scene, the very final scene of the game where, I mean...
Oh, God. I don't know how to properly encapsulate this.
Let's start here then. The thing I really can't reconcile with my own theory is the fact that fake-ass Aerith that Cloud sees went up behind Red 13, and he kind of looks up, he's like, Aerith? Remember that?
He reacts to, Red reacts to it, right? So, like, to me at this particular time, I'm like... Cloud is probably imagining it, but if Red actually responds, that implies it's not totally in Cloud's head. Unless the unreliable narrator thing happens and Cloud just imagines him saying that.
Yeah, see, we don't know, right?
We don't know if it's actually happening or not.
We can't trust a goddamn thing that we see, right, at this point.
Nope.
So... yeah, just the roller coaster of it, right? She's there, she's back, she fades away. She opens her eyes, she appears again in another scene looking creepy. She's there, she's in one shot, she's not in another shot.
Yeah, and like it's so bizarre. And I have to add one thing that's super bizarre really quick. So like he has an empty white materia in his hand, right? And so he pockets it, or like, he seemingly puts it away, but then he lifts his hand again and it's like a black materia. I'm like, what? He actually literally says, "What the hell?" Right? And I'm like, he gets another like staticky headache or whatever, and then he says like the reunion or something or other, like, and then but the craziest thing to me is he actually like taps it into his sword and it assimilates it, which is not something we've ever seen before.
Yeah, that was weird. It assimilates
like,
it. Like, that was fucking weird.
It's like this is a completely unseen thing. So just like, how the hell is this happening, right? How is any of this happening?
I don't know, man. That was bizarre.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know what to make of that at all. But and then, of course, like the final, everyone's getting on the tiny Bronco, and then Cloud is having his final conversation with himself. I guess if Aerith is there, I guess he's talking to her, and that conversation was so weird. It sounded like just clips of like just stuff that he remembers her saying. Clearly. Okay, I'll put it this way. When Aerith like, take care, and then Cloud's like, oh, will you be okay? She's like, don't worry, it's like a second home.
It's like, what second home are you talking about?
I feel like that's something she says in Midgar. in Remake.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, I think you're right.
I could be wrong. I feel like that's like not a line. That's like, but then also she says, "Oh, don't worry, I'll stop the meteor. I'll put everything into my prayers." What?
Yeah, she says that. And then she also says, like, I could just light a fire if I need, or something like that, right?
I'll send up smoke.
Send up smoke, yeah.
But that's what she says when you call the tiny, that's what you do when you call Sid.
So he's clearly making, I would imagine in his head, he's just making cloudfiction.net.
Yeah, like, I mean, it's just, it's crazy. I'll stop the meteor that we have not seen, by the way.
That's right. Yeah, it hasn't been summoned yet. So it's like,
right.
What the? God, he's fucked. He's so fucked, man.
He's so fucked. He's more fucked up than he ever was in the original game. That's what's going to make part 3. That's what's going to make the entire, his entire character moment probably even bigger and more. I don't know if grandiose is the right word, but I think you know what I'm getting at here.
Yeah. Things will come to a head. Yeah. Because he has to resolve this all in his head in the live stream or whatever, right? So they're going to play that up like crazy. How are you going to sort, like, there's already like the Tifa space wheel nonsense that was already really nuts. And they're going to like lean into it like super hard when that scene arrives in the third game. And
cloudfiction.net.
Dude, it's so true, man. It's so true. Yeah, it's the freaking cloud fanfiction writer about Aerith still being alive. What if she still survived or whatever, right?
Yeah, but then he also says, like, remember he says to the party, like, don't look up. You don't be shocked. It's not real or something like that. And then Barrett's like, well, I guess now I have to look. And he's like, I don't see anything. So
yeah, but there's a camera shot of Cloud looking up and there's a giant rift in the sky akin to the same rift that he saw like earlier in the chapter, right?
Right.
So I'm like,
but what? Tifa can't even look at him. Even like that look that she gave him as they were leaving the pool. By the way, do you want to talk about that? They didn't show us the classic scene of Cloud lowering Aerith into her dead body into the pool, and everyone, like, they showed everyone sitting around afterwards, but they didn't actually show that part.
So there's several options, right? Which is to say he still did it off camera, but that doesn't make any sense if he's got this fanfic in his head, right? So maybe the implication is that someone else did it and then he just kind of blew it off and like made shit up to reconcile everything.
I think he did it. I think
he did it. Okay.
Yeah, he did it. They just can't show us that because that doesn't fit his narrative. Oh, I saved her.
He did it, but then he like kind of just forgot?
Well, no, they just can't show us that part because that wouldn't align with his idea or whatever he wants to believe in his head that he saved her when he deflected Sephiroth's sword.
Oh, but he did it, but then his memories are kind of align a certain way. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Well, he's choosing not to like acknowledge that happened. Essentially,
sure.
I think that's why they didn't show us that.
Man, because
I saw a lot of stuff online of people who did not like this ending, who were kind of mad that they did not show that. Yeah, that's kind of a sticking point with people.
Really, but also, like, I think if someone's not carefully watching, they might actually literally think she's alive because of the way it's shot. Even though
that's what I think one of the best things Maximilian Dude said about that whole thing is that, like, you can believe that if you want to, but if you do believe that, you are Cloud in this scene. You are Cloud.
You become Cloud. Literally, there's nothing wrong with that. But at the same time, he's also making shit up.
Yeah, it's clear because he omitted that from our view of what happened there, the Aerith in the pool, because again, that doesn't fit his narrative.
Yeah,
of her being alive. I saved her.
And she's going to somehow get to her second home somehow.
The grasslands are not her second home or wherever the hell they are. So why would she say that? He's just regurgitating lines that she said in other places. I'll send up smoke. Yeah, even the way she's like, even Cloud's like, I'll stop Sephiroth. Trust me. You promise? That even felt weird. You promise?
Yeah, and he says he promised, he sees promise, but the game ends with the quote, "No promises await at journey's end," which subverts literally everything that just happened.
Cloud is so fucked up.
Yeah.
Just don't you can't believe anything, and just
no.
It just obviously, again, it just sets up for part 3 for his reckoning. But what a game.
It's great, dude. Like, what an ending. And everything's just so expanded. It keeps us guessing. And man, I loved every bit of it.
All right, what now? Is the timeline shit over? Are all the alternate dimensions merged, as Sephiroth said that he wanted to do? Right? And if so, we left off, we didn't talk about this. Zack was in the church at the end, with the flowers. So does that mean he's in our, quote unquote, our world now?
Yeah, because he literally says, who's to say the worlds can't come together again? But if we take that at face value, the implication is that they may still be split to a degree. And honestly, I think there's a very high likelihood that they are merged, but I'm not really 100% convinced, just because, like, there's still kind of the ambiguity thereof, just from the way the chapter is shot, right? So, but on the other hand, he also might not know that they have been merged, because he's just chilling in this church by himself. He just got dropped there, so he doesn't know anything. So they could be, and maybe he just doesn't know.
Yeah, he may not know where he is either,
yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. So, well, that would be interesting if you, like, Zack scenes in the third game would be like trying to find the party because they're in the same world now. That would be cool, because obviously they can't just forget about Zack. They have to meet at some point.
I would assume. Well, he will materialize at some point. Yeah, absolutely. He's in this too much to not.
Exactly. I forget who said this, and this is not my original thought by any means, but there's a theory that basically the alternate timelines are essentially just wish fulfillment.
That's a meta
right?
thought.
Like just what ifs. Like, what if Zack was alive? What if Cloud saved Aerith? Right? Like, what if Zack and Cloud teamed up to fight Sephiroth? Like, all that shit happened in Rebirth.
Or seemingly happened.
Seemingly happened, right? But you got to play them at the very least. And that's what matters. And if that's the case, that's why I think the timelines aren't needed anymore. They already serve their, like, cloudfiction.net purpose, right?
So, like, they have been merged, just maybe not literally so on screen or whatever, right? I mean, that is possible for sure. But
I mean, it would be weird if they didn't, like, literally show. I mean, like, do they have to have a visual of, like, that Sephiroth, like all the scenes and stuff, like coming into one, coming into one thing? I mean,
they don't literally have to show that. It's just they should probably hint at it at some point, right? But that's the third game's mystery, right?
Sure is. How do you think Cloud seeing, quote unquote, seeing Aerith is going to manifest? Because again, Tifa knows. She's just embarrassed at him and herself, probably too.
We've been referring to Cloud being so awkward and being so conversationally dense, and it's only going to explode further in the third game, because things are not going to be very smooth. They're going to, like, talk to him and be like, hey, like, do you remember Aerith? Do you remember her doing something? And he's going to clash. His thoughts and his perspective of things is going to clash with the parties. Absolutely. And I mean, there's going to be some characters that'll be nicey about it, like Red, but I don't imagine things will go so smooth.
Barret isn't going to put up with him, like, being like, no, Aerith is alive. I mean, I don't think Cloud is going to literally say that.
Of course not. Yeah. But God, oof, it's going to be so weird.
They know how messed up he is. I've heard a theory online that the proto-relic stuff is leading to Knights of the Round.
You know,
what do you think of that?
God, like, that's the best thing to do, right? And, like, you actually make Knights of the Round like an actual, like, subplot, right? That would be great. I think that would be amazing. And, like, they don't have much of an explanation in the original, so I think that's the ultimate, like, this is probably among the most iconic summons in all of JRPGs, right? So, like, yeah. I don't see why you shouldn't, like, blow that up.
Yeah, it's like I said earlier. It was things that were optional in the original. We know they're not optional. Are you really going to do a Final Fantasy VII run without getting Yuffie or Vincent or Knights of the Round or a gold? Come on, that's like part of the game. You get you don't have to do it, right? Are you really gonna like not go to Wutai? You are.
Yeah, you will.
I can't wait for that, by the way. Will. We haven't talked about any of the Wutai War or Shinra stuff, but like I cannot wait for in the third game. This is going to be so cool.
They're building up a lot of political intrigue that just wasn't really there. There's so much tension, and it's gonna come to a head, right? And that's gonna be great to see. Absolutely.
I think the final thing I have to say about all of this is that I'm not sure the third game will be like this. As far as like okay, I'll put it this way. We talked about earlier, okay, the way remake was, that's the best you could probably do on PS4, right? You couldn't really do, you can't really do a game like Rebirth on PS4. I mean, you could try, but baby.
I don't want to mention it.
Yeah, no thanks, right? They knew this was going to be a PS5 game from the start, so let's do our big open world thing on there. I genuinely would not mind if the third game went back to being more linear. I really wouldn't mind it.
So the biggest
I know that might piss a lot of people off, but like, I don't know. The ends of these types of games end up being pretty linear anyway, so it wouldn't make any difference to me. We already had our big adventure, right?
We did, yeah.
We don't need to do like the exact same thing. And if it means like this game comes out in like 2027 and not like 2029, fine. I'm okay with it. What do you say?
I'm okay with it. However, there's so many mysteries in my head, right? Because this game is already like quite sizable. Like it takes up a lot of 2 discs and a lot of gigabytes and stuff like that, right? So the biggest question in my head ultimately is, to what degree will previous areas be able to be revisited? Because I feel like it'd be really strange if you could just do everything in these like existing open world areas again. It's like, oh, it's time to go back to the grasslands and do everything as is. I feel like that's kind of a inefficient use of space.
So it also wouldn't be interesting because we already did that.
We already did it, so I would imagine elements of these overworlds, if not all of them, will be excluded. However, you have an airship though. So like, what kind of in-universe explanation would you have to have an airship and not be able to revisit stuff, right? Like, in theory, you could fly to whatever town. You could fly back to Calm if you really wanted to. So, like, maybe something cataclysmic will happen that will prevent specific areas from being revisitable, I guess, right? But, like...
the weapon stuff, right? Ruby weapon. Doesn't that,
yeah.
Don't you spend time chasing them shits around the map or something like that? Or, like...
Yeah, well, Ruby Weapon's just chilling around the saucer area, so maybe that could play into things somehow. Maybe specific areas will come back, right?
But like, see, that would benefit a linear game, though. If you have to do all this globe hopping and go everywhere, well, you know what, though? You can't, because you have to fly the high wind. You have to. Mm-hmm. That's the reason why. Okay, maybe I'm wrong. You have to have the high wind. It's not Final Fantasy VII if you don't.
Yeah, but it's just a matter of what you're going to be able to do with it. And
you can't just have a world map of where like you choose a thing like it's fucking Grandia 2 or something. You gotta have you can land everywhere.
You know how freaking ghetto it would be if you were able to basically pilot the boat Tiny Bronco everywhere, and then JK, by the way, you have this badass like airship and you can't do shit with it.
No, they would never take that away from us. Yeah. They did all the chocobo shit of climbing walls and flying and water shit, right? They did all. You can't take that away from the player. So maybe I'm wrong.
And the Tiny Bronco has a fucking like motion sensor, like gyroscope ass thing, man. You can like tilt it and stuff. So it's like that
when you're going to the next destination. That was like a preview, right? That was a preview of part 3, right?
Gotta be. Mm-hmm.
Even though you're on like a path, you could still kind of like move it around.
There's no way it's gonna be that on rails in part 3. That's inconceivable to me. That would be such a massive letdown and such a massive downgrade from everything in this game. So they gotta let you do it. I just want to know what you can land on, man. That's what I want to know.
You gotta land on everything. You have to. I don't see you can't do the high. I understand it's hard to do, but like, look, man, this game has all the mini games, and they added more mini games. They did everything. They did every fucking thing. They got to let you do that with the high wind, or don't have it.
But every single overworld coming back is too hard, though, I think.
Okay, but man,
So
I don't know.
I think the
We'll
towns
see
will come
the
back to a degree, but
I don't know, man. I guess we'll find out in a few years. I hope it's not too long away.
the game's gonna be a gazillion gigabytes if like literally every overworld is back. So I don't know.
This is already like what 150.
Yeah, something like that. The only 2-disc PS5 game I know of. So
maybe they can find some sort of compression technique and by then. I don't know.
By
man.
compression technique, you need 3 discs.
That's not compression at all. That's 250 gigs or something. Maybe I don't know.
Ooh, baby.
Okay.
Well, what a mystery. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth was really special. We both loved it. As you can tell from this very long discussion, thanks for sticking with us. Yeah, I think you got anything else, Materia pal?
The Materia pal, the Cetra in crime is tapped out.
Me too. Check the description of this podcast to our links on social media. Until then, we'll see you next time. Bye.
We'll catch you next time. This has been Fine Time.